This conference will now be recorded.
And as you just heard, this conference is going to be recorded, so I guess we have to behave. And who else do we have on the budget committee here on the phone call?
Bob Shortman.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Good, good.
Good. Nice to hear your voice. And I also heard Paulina Cochran.
Yes.
And Brent Warren is here.
This is Judy Schechter joining.
I see Judy. How are you, Judy?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Thank you for your volunteerism.
My pleasure. It's fun.
All right. Who else from the budget committee do we have?
Brent Warren is on. Is my mic working?
Yep, Brent, I can hear you crystal clear. How about you?
Okay, fantastic. I can hear everybody just great, except for one person that was all mumbly a while back.
Okay, so we got Paulina, Dan, Carrie. Now, Mayor Brown is not going to be here tonight. He's got another thing he's got to do, and he's busy trying to keep his businesses running, so he won't be here tonight. Let's see, who else do we have? Any other counselors other than Paulina, Dan, and Carrie?
You got Rita.
And Rita, I'm sorry, I saw her. I think we've got all the counselors then. And then we've got Judy, Brent, any other budget committee members?
Chris.
Okay. And
There's
Chris.
Rita.
So we officially have enough to start, but let's give it a couple more minutes. Paulina, can you just say something again?
Paulina Cochran, this is a test.
It's a great test. Gotcha.
I don't see any place where I can see who's on the call other than the people whose faces I can see.
Christy will begin labeling us. Mine is probably, as you see, is just probably an initial with a box that says C. When I talk, especially the box should pop up with a little highlight around it when I'm talking.
Yeah, I don't see your box at all. It says Chad is talking, and now it says I'm talking, but that's all right.
Okay,
It's
there
nice to know
is.
who you're talking to.
Yeah, I'm talking to all of you, all of us. And so those of you that are in the public and that are listening to this call, just go ahead and mute yourselves if you don't mind. It looks like we've got about 16 people total on this call at the moment. I see Angela, I see Darren, I see Elizabeth, I see Gail Como, I see George, I see Jess, I see Judy, Carrie, Nakisha, Rita, RJ Marks. Hey, so the press is here, so we really have to behave now.
Better be careful.
And I see Trish, and I see Vivian. So hopefully this is all working out that way. Miss Gail, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. It's nice to hear your voice, Miss Gail. Miss Gail really runs the city. She makes me look good. So she's going to help us through this because she's been through a lot of these meetings, and I have a tendency to kind of get waylaid. So thank goodness that Gail is here. So Gail, at the beginning, do we go ahead and nominate a president or a person to take care of this meeting? Is that correct?
Yeah, we should open the meeting and then elect a chairman.
All right. And the chairman is from one of you committee members, and one of you committee members, which includes the city councilors that are on the phone call, and the budget committee. And in the past, we've had Rita do it. And in the many years that I've been around, also Bob Shortman's been doing it. So I guess we would be looking at for a nomination for somebody to run this meeting.
I nominate Judy.
Oh, I decline. But thank you.
I nominate Bob Shortman.
I will
that's
second that. It's too much pressure for me.
Don't listen to him, guys. Just let him. He's good at this. So, Bob, would you accept if we voted you in?
Yeah, I guess. Just a lot of pressure.
You'll do fine, Bob. We'll screw this up all sorts of ways. So you're gonna do fine. Don't worry about it.
I second
Okay,
the
so-
nomination.
We got Carrie seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay.
Aye.
But
Aye.
Sounds like we got 6
Okay.
ayes. Bob, Tag, you're it.
Great.
Okay, so yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
We'll help you through this.
all right.
Okay, and does everybody have the budget up in front of them in one fashion or another?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and how about you, Bob or Judy
Yeah, I'm good.
and Brett?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then we don't happen to
got it.
have who we look for? Al Carter. Are you on by chance? Okay, Al Carter is not on. Any other budget committee members that I haven't mentioned? I've got Brent, Chris, Judy.
And Bob Shortman.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 8 of us on. We're doing pretty good. We do have a quorum, so I think we should move forward. Does anybody object to that?
Nope.
Okay, so Bob, do you see the agenda online and in your packet?
I just have the packet. I'm not online. That's why
That's fine. All our page numbers should be the same. Miss Christine
Okay.
Muscale took good care of us. So if you want to, if you have the agenda in your packet, just go down through those items.
Right.
And so we opened the budget. We elected the chairman. We should elect a secretary, I suppose, next. Bob, would you like to do that?
we'll accept nominations for secretary.
Okay, and even though I'm not a commissioner or excuse me, a member of this group, I might recommend Gail Como. She is the recorder for the city of Deerheart. She's very good at that, and she can take the notes and do that. Or does it have to be a budget committee member, Gail?
No, just whomever.
Okay.
I will
I
second
nominate Gail Como.
I second.
So, Bob, you have a motion and a second. Bob, you might want to call for the vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay.
And then, Bob, just for the fun of it, anybody opposed would be the next question.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay. Gail's the secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Gail. Okay, so the next item, Bob, we have is
Okay.
public hearing for uses of revenue sharing. And
Okay,
Miss Chris,
so
you have some of that information online.
the May 12th, 2020 Budget Committee for Deerheart is officially opened.
Great. Okay, so we have a public hearing open for the uses of the grant donations, and Christy has put all the grant donations online. The requests. And in the budget, we have the grants that we paid last year, and then we just left those in for this year, so those are not for sure. On Bob's behalf, is there anybody that would like to speak on the grant donation requests?
This is Al Carter. I just
Hey,
joined
Al,
the
you
meeting.
made it. Yeah, Al,
Well,
we're good.
I
Bob Shortman
tried
is
to go on your website to get in, and it won't let me in.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Or thanks, Al. But good that you made it in on your phone.
I made it in on my phone.
Good.
Hello.
And who do we have that just said hello?
Hi, I'm Ellen Long. I'm the grants manager at the Harbor in Astoria, and we are one of your applicants.
Okay, I'll let Bob, are you okay with her going on and just taking a few minutes to describe her project?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to get a chance to say anything, but I'm joining just by phone. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to put in an application. For those of you who may not know what the Harbor does, we are a countywide nonprofit advocacy and services agency supporting domestic abuse and sexual assault survivors and their families. And one of the things that we provide countywide is a 24-hour day, 7-day a week, 365 days a year service for emergency consultations for anyone who is referred to us by the police, by the hospital emergency rooms, or by friends or people who call us directly. So there's someone available to work with survivors throughout the county at any time, day or night. And that is the request that we have put in. We support Gerhardt. We support all of the towns and cities in the county, as well as the unincorporated areas. Our partners are the two major hospitals in our area, Columbia Memorial and Providence Seaside. We also work with most of the police departments, if not all, and the state police when needed. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail. Our request is pretty simple. Just wanted to make sure that you knew what we're doing. We are open for business, even though we are not fully staffed in the office. People are taking rotational turns answering the phones, and then in emergency circumstances, we invite people in by appointment and continue to observe all of the appropriate social distancing measures. As you can imagine, the kinds of services that we provide become even more necessary when we are in a crisis health situation like we are now. And I would just like to say that we appreciate anything that you can help us do to support that work and to support some of the neediest of our citizens in the county. Thanks.
This is Chris.
Okay, Bob, you might just want to ask if anybody had any questions.
Chris, for managing the.
Chris, we can barely hear you. You need to get closer to your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Still barely.
I cannot hear anybody hardly.
How about now?
Chris, I can hear you now. Al, can you hear us?
I can hear now.
Okay, so for the sake of managing these, I had to scroll down, and I think it's about halfway through the grant package that we got the same PDF file. It'd be kind of helpful if we knew what page to start at to begin with when we're reviewing these. But that's just a suggestion.
Thanks, Chris. I think that's a good one. So what we'll do is we'll ask any of the further the future grant folks to say who they are. We'll kind of all get on the same page on the screen, and then we'll move forward.
I would like to say something if I could. This is Angie.
Sure.
We are also a grant applicant.
Okay, Angie,
Is it
which organization?
We are the Mechanical Watershed Council.
Okay, and so folks, go ahead and go to the Mechanical Water Shelter section. Not sure what page it is.
Watershed Council. Yeah.
Thank you.
Chad, I have a question for the people from the harbor.
Okay, we'll get there. Go ahead for the harbor.
Hi.
My question? Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so my question for the harbor, it's a wonderful organization, and I totally support it. She said that they were not fully staffed, but if that's true, why is their personnel cost $500,000?
We are fully staffed. What I meant is that the majority of us are working and taking turns scheduling our time in the office. The office is open for clients by appointment, and we continue to be fully serving all inquiries and needs for placing people in our shelter and in hotels, motels by arrangement if they need emergency housing. And that's the so we are fully staffed.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
And this is Paulina, and I'm doing it low tech, so I guess I need to get online and look at this. But can I just ask what the request is, because the paper document does not show a dollar amount for the harbor?
The harbor amount request in the application is for $1,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Christy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, I'd like to introduce you to Christy. She is another amazing team member for the city of Deerheart. She came up with an idea while we were talking, just kind of scroll through the requests and to see if somebody is here on this call to speak for those requests, which is not a requirement, but it is nice. So Christy, which request are we on now?
If you have the document open online, page 1 is the Little Yellow House or the Seaside Hall. Is anyone here from there?
Okay,
Hi there.
it doesn't sound like it. Little Yellow House is.
My name is Trisha. I'm a board member on the Little Yellow House.
Okay, and I was talking over you. My apologies. What's your name again?
My name's Trish.
Okay, Trish. Thank you. Okay, so Trish, if you'd like to talk about your request.
Sure. So for those of you who do not know, the Seaside Little Yellow House offers a 12-step meeting for recovery from drugs and alcohol. Currently, through this virus, we are operating most meetings from Zoom. This is my first time presenting this, and I was supposed to shadow, so bear with me. Yeah, basically our request is for building maintenance. We have some siding that needs to be repaired. We offer different holiday events, so people in recovery have a safe place to go. For Thanksgiving, December, for Christmas, and we do 4th of July holiday events, and so that helps support that and keep the doors open, and of course keep the building maintenance as well. Do you have any questions for me?
Whoever's talking, we can barely hear you. Chris, we've got yours from the Little Yellow House, but I think there was a question that we couldn't hear. Okay, does anybody have questions for Chris?
Chris, yeah, I've got one. I know you said this is your first time presenting. I don't know how long you've been a board member. I looked at the Department of Justice nonprofit registration, and your organization wasn't registered with State of Oregon Department of Justice to be a nonprofit functioning in Oregon yet. So
Okay, and thank you. And who was that just asked that question?
this is Brent.
Brent.
Okay, Brent.
Let's see. I would be happy to pass that question along. We're having some technical difficulties. John is on here, but he has no volume. And he had said if there was any questions I didn't have the answer to, I could forward his info on to you, Brent.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay.
And
Great.
Brent, just they've been an organization around here for I think over 20 years.
Okay, that may be.
I'd like to add that they do have a federal nonprofit tax ID on their application.
Okay, this is Chad. Thank you, Gail, for that information. Brent, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. And they are incorporated with the Secretary of State's office, but to legally operate as a nonprofit in Oregon, you have to submit annual federal 990 tax returns,
Right.
12 tax returns to the Department of Justice.
Okay,
According
thank
to
you,
the
Brent.
Department
And
of Justice, it doesn't say that they've done that. So
if the budget committee approves a budget that has some money for them, then we will make sure to verify that before we pay out any monies.
that sounds great.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is Chris. As a point of order, can you hear me?
Barely, Chris.
Okay, just as a point of order, if you can hear me, just beneath the federal nonprofit tax ID number, I'd suggest that we include another line that requests the Oregon number that Brent's referring to.
That's a good call. We'll take some notes, and city staff will do that again for next year. Okay, those of you that are just listening, and if you're not ready to talk, go ahead and mute yourselves. There's somebody in the background that's has a little noise going on. All right. Okay, sorry. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry. What we did is a global muting, so you may have to unmute yourselves when you want to talk, and then we'll mute you individually, mute yourselves when you want to talk again. If you're on the phone, you're not going to be able to do that, so you just got to try to keep the noise to a minimum. Okay, so Christy, who do we have next? All right, Christy, are you there? She's probably trying to unmute herself right now. Judy, I can see you moving your mouth, but I can't. It's nice to see you, Judy.
She's probably muted.
Yeah, I agree. Isn't this great, this COVID thing?
This is Paulina. It looks like the Mechanicsum Watershed Council's next.
Okay, thank you, Paulina.
There you go.
Mechanical water
Angie's ready.
Page
Oh,
9
sorry.
of 49.
So this is Angie, and I'm with the Mechanical Watershed Council, and we requested $1,000, and this grant request will be devoted completely to working to develop and implement restoration projects with the city of Gearhart and with Gearhart residents. So we're going to allocate it specifically to that. And the Mechanical Watershed Council has wanted to identify projects in the Gearhart area, and so this is a really great opportunity for all of us. Right now I'm working on some ideas. I have some ideas to work with the city to identify possible fish habitat improvement projects or weed and brush reduction, native plantings, pollinator-friendly projects, monitoring projects, that sort of thing. But really, whatever falls within what I can do, we can absolutely, work on grants together. But also, I'd like to just have a few meetings and see what folks are interested in and how the Watershed Council can help achieve those things. So we've enjoyed partnership in the past, and I've done some conversations with Chad on some things, and so I'd really like to get more involved. And this grant will allow me to have dedicated funding to do that. So I appreciate your consideration, and thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Angela. This is Chad, and I have appreciated our relationship over the years.
And Paulina, just one question. Angie, will this effectively pay for your time on any of those projects?
It would, yes. It would basically pay for me to do those things. So meetings, implementation, that sort of stuff. And then developing the grants, and then the grants would further, the grants that we would get to do the projects with the city or with landowners would then further fund my time. So this is basically like funding, getting it all up and running kind of thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is
Barely, Chris.
okay.
There we go.
So
that's better.
I like the idea. I'm just not sure I understand whether or not you have a project already in mind that you want to do, or this $1,000 is just seed money, if you will.
That's a good question. No, I do have some ideas about projects that I'd like to do. And I just need to clarify that those goals are consistent with what I'd like to do. So some of them that I'm thinking about is riparian areas, planting native plantings along the Neocoxy and in riparian areas. Maybe there's some fish culverts that you guys need replaced. It depends on, I've kind of got broad ideas of what I could pitch to the city and to the residents. Pollinator plantings in favor of Scotch broom, something like that. Those kind of ideas, but I'd have to have people that would be interested in those ideas. So this is the money that I'm requesting is to allocate some time for me to be able to do that and talk to, say, Chad at the city and see if there's any projects that the city would like to do, like a culvert replacement or something. And then I would write the grant to do that with the city and help save you guys money, or put in native plantings instead of Scotch broom, or these are just ideas off the top of my head. Once we sit down and kind of identify your guys' goals, then we can narrow it down to something that's a grant that I could write, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, I guess, but I just didn't know that a volunteer organization would do something like that for the city.
And Chris, this is Chad. They've been in the past, when we've been working through issues such as the beach dune vegetation issue and things like that, this organization has been very helpful to the city of Gearhart, and they helped us through a grant process a couple of times, and those can be very time demanding, and so we've appreciated their help in the past.
And for an example, right now, I'm working with the city of Seaside as well on like culvert replacements and things like that. We got approved to do a culvert replacement by OWEB, but the funding's on hold right now. But it was roughly a $5,000 or $500,000 project, and I got about 380 of it from a grant. So that kind of thing could be something that Gearhart could partner with the council on to do those sort of things.
Okay, I understand what you're doing now. You're setting up seed money for grants that will come from other publicly funded organizations.
Yes, yeah.
Gearhart.
And this allows me to have the time
and the
to
brain
do
power and the brain power to do those grants, you know, so that's been great.
Okay, so when I read what you do for a living, I don't see that, and that would have been really helpful.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because
Sorry
the
about
federal
that.
government does the same thing with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, working with states. So, I mean, it's great what you're doing. So thanks for explaining it better.
Yeah, yeah. Did it make sense? Do I need more clarification, or is that cool?
I'm fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay, it looks like next we have the CCA Regional Food Bank. Anybody from that organization?
Oh, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Hi, this is Viviana Matthews. I'm the Executive Director at Clatsop Community Action. And we have turned in an application for one of our programs, which is the CCA Regional Food Bank located in Warrenton. And we distribute food to all Clatsop County. So that includes Gearhart. And about 25% of our food distribution went to Gearhart last year. Last year, we had distributed about 1.6 million pounds of food in Clatsop County. And we are serving about 35 to 40% of population right now. And we are asking $5,000 to continue to serve our population in Gearhart, which it's about 25%, as I mentioned before.
Thank you, Vivian. This is Chad. Bob, you might want to ask if there's any questions.
I have a question. This is Al Carter.
Hi.
My question is not so much about your program, but I'm looking at all of these grant applications, and it seems like, is there some duplication in with regard to all of the food banks?
So I am under Clatsop Community Action Regional Food Bank. We distribute food to all the food pantries. A lot of the food pantries are called food bank, but actually there's only one food bank in Clatsop County. But you might have applications from other food pantries.
Okay, so you're talking. Do you distribute to the South County Community Food Bank?
Yes, yes, we do, to South County. We distribute to about 45 different, we call them partner agency, which is food pantries, shelters, the harbor, school programs. We distribute to a lot of different programs within Clatsop County.
Okay, so you also include the North Coast Food Web.
For distribution?
Yes.
We do partner with the North Coast Food Web.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, I have a question. This is Rita. And
Hi,
you
Rita.
You just said that 25% of your food allocation went to Gearhart. Is that right?
Yes, the population of Gearhart is a little bit under 1,600 people. So yeah, about 25% of allocation has been going to Gearhart residents.
So exactly where in Gearhart was the food distributed?
So we have different, we distribute to food pantries within Clatsop County, and we also have 3 other sites. One is at the Warrington Food Bank, which is by the animal shelter, and then we do that on Thursdays afternoon, and we also take that our food to Astoria during the summers, Seaside and Warrington. Yes. So
Well, I
people don't
understand,
people
but
go to our sites. Not necessarily, we don't take food to Gerhardt. People from Gerhardt come and see us at the Warrington or come and see us at Astoria.
so is that where you get your statistics?
Yes, we ask the people that seek our services for their information.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very
Hey,
welcome.
I'd like to jump in. This is George Moreno from the St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry. We are in Gerhardt, and that's where most of the food's going.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, after the CCA Regional Food Bank, we have Clatsop CASA program. Anybody representing them?
Hello, it's Nikisha Womble. I'm the Executive Director of Clatsop CASA, and I'm on.
Okay, Nikisha, thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know, we recruit, train, and supervise community volunteers to represent the best interest of children who are currently involved in the Clatsop County dependency court systems and have ended up in foster care. We typically serve around 123 children annually. And what our services look like is kind of being the connector piece. We're the only organization that our sole interest is to focus on one child at a time, whereas a lot of the other parties can be a revolving door. So there may be multiple caseworkers, teachers, and attorneys involved. But when we assign a CASA, the CASA focuses on that one child. And typically the duration of a case can last up to 3 years. And we do our best to keep that CASA with that one child. So when details get lost, the CASA is there to remind the judge and other community partners of who that child is and what that child needs. While due to confidentiality, I can't say numbers for Gerhardt, but what I can say is that children and families there do benefit from our services. The impact that we bring to the table often will impact the parents as well as the children. It motivates them to do what's necessary to safely parent their kids in the future, as well as to become more productive members of our communities. Many of our children and our parents come from a background of poverty. They've experienced residential instability. A lot of them need mental health services. And so this year we had asked for $3,000 to help us with recruitment, training material, and then I did put on there that some funds may be used for supervision. The reason that I did so, I know nobody likes to pay for overhead, but the reality for us right now is that while the court systems are not involved and while our kids are not being around their mandated reporters as normal, our CASA supervisors are spending an additional 15 to 20 hours per week trying to connect with individuals through various platforms like Zoom, the one we're using here, as well as we're trying to get creative with how to connect our volunteers to our children. So currently we're doing drive-bys, we're doing curbside happy birthday singing. We're really trying to think outside of the box. Many of our cases that we would have expected to see closed have now been kept open longer due to timelines being extended because of the Department of Justice orders. Educational advocacy needs have increased. So a lot of our CASA volunteers are now over the phone or through video, reading with our kids, helping parents to navigate homework. A lot of the schools are doing drop-off packets. Some services are online, and they're pretty confusing for some of our parents that aren't used to those types of interactions. In addition, CASA has been sure that visitation has continued to be met for kids and families. Keeping that connection is incredibly important, especially at a time of so much disconnection. And then the same goes for all mental health services. and any educational classes that we could be offering to families. A lot of those have been suspended currently. So our CASAs are definitely filling a much larger role, as is our program supervisors. You'll also know in our financial documents that we had presented, we normally pull $35,000+ from our annual celebration that's held in March, and due to the COVID-19, we did have to cancel that. We were able to get some community help, but we did lose out $21,000 that we had expected for income going into the next fiscal year. And in addition to that, we've lost an additional $18,000 from direct public support that we would have normally had at this time as well. So going into this next year, we definitely are not as strong as we typically are. And in our employee, I'm sorry, if you hear anything, I have a 13-month-old and I'm trying to manage him at the same time. If you look at our expenses for our employees, I just wanted to say that 0.8 of our FTE for our program managers is currently being reimbursed by a VOCA grant, but that grant does expire in September. And so at that point in time, we do hope to reapply, but those are funds that we also expect to have to try to meet as well. And this is my first time presenting, so please ask me questions if I did not cover anything that you guys would like to know.
Hi, this is Chris. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Okay, so I think what you're doing is great, but I'm kind of new to Clatsop County and doing this. And I kind of need your help to better understand, what are you doing different than what the state already pays people to do for children affected by this?
Okay, that's a great question. And I will do my best to explain it. If you don't have a lot of involvement in systems like this, then I may not do the best job at explaining it. So as I said, we're the only program, so we're part of a national organization, as well as we are our own 501c3 organization. And then we also have a state program as well. And so our sole interest is only advocating for the needs of the child, for their services. And then our main prerogative is to be sure that those kids can achieve permanency as soon as possible. And so, as I'd said, some of these cases can typically stay open for upwards of 3 years, and there is horrific outcomes that can happen for children who spend longer time than needed in foster care. You know, a lot of them already have underlying mental health conditions, and then that time of uncertainty increases those things as well. And so ACASA is there. So if we end up at a case, you know, a year and a half in, we have no parents on the scene, there's nobody participating, those children don't have any biological family members. We're there to say, hey, these children can no longer be in limbo. It's in their best interest for them to have a permanent, loving home to where they can start building connections and start to work on some of the trauma that they've already endured. And then our CASAs very frequently will stay involved with that child after that case closes. And every youth is really one person, one permanent adult figure in their life away from being a success story. And so we try to be that one permanent staple in that child's life. Did I do okay there? Do you have a better understanding? Particularly, like I said, our biggest goal is to help that child achieve permanency as soon as possible. And so we work closely with our court systems. Our CASAs go to court, they submit reports to the judge, they attend all citizen review board hearings, all judicial reviews, and we are a legal party. We are state mandated.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for CASA? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from Helping Hands?
Hi, this is Elizabeth Katesh from Helping Hands. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can, Elizabeth,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, great. I'm the development director, and we applied for support for our data-driven, trauma-informed homeless reentry program. We offer up to 18 beds, not 18, we offer up to 80 beds nightly in Clatsop County. So we provide emergency shelter for men, women, and children experiencing homelessness. But our primary focus really is on our long-term reentry program, which we've designed to build self-sufficiency and create opportunities for people so that they're able to make lasting change. We are the largest provider of shelter in Clatsop County. In 2019, we served 584 people, and out of our kitchen provided nearly 15,000 meals with lots of help from CCA's food bank. So right now, what we're really focused on is sustainability. We're looking to the future so that we're really poised to meet the needs that we're anticipating. We are definitely anticipating a surge in need for transitional housing as a result of COVID-19 and the potential economic fallout. Couple of things that we've struggled with financially in terms of this virus. The people who access our services pay membership dues as soon as they're able. So it's kind of like rent, and their fees cover roughly half of our expenses. But because so many people are out of work in the tourism and service industries, they're not paying dues. And we, of course, are not refusing services to them. So we are instead just taking on that cost. And then we also, like CASA, had to cancel our annual fundraiser, which last year we raised $84,000. So it's a significant loss for us. So just some of the challenges that we're facing, but we're pushing ahead, still doing good work, and grateful for any support that Gearhart can provide.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions? I just had to switch devices. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can hear me? Actually, I just wanted a bunch of thumbs up. That's great. Okay, any other questions for Helping Hands?
Yeah, this is Chris. Can you kind of help me understand CEO payroll expenses?
Sure. Yeah. So that would be that would cover salary and burden and health insurance costs for our executive director, Alan Evans.
So your executive director is on six-figure salary and you're a volunteer organization?
We have a full executive staff. So we have an executive director, a chief financial officer, a development director, and a director of data and major projects. And then we also have, I believe, 11 additional staff members working in our facilities. So we are not a volunteer-run organization, but we are a certified 501c3. So the reason that looks like a six-figure salary is because you have his salary plus health insurance benefits plus the burden, so tax burden, and all of that is included within that figure. Does that make sense? So that's not the salary that he receives, it's the total cost.
Yeah, no, thanks for explaining that. Just
sure.
Wasn't aware we handed out grants to non-volunteer organizations. That's all.
Yeah, Chris, we do. We have, and that's not something that the city of Gearhart has restricted.
Okay, thanks, Chad.
This is Brent. I'd like to chime in also. Just about any foundation or corporation or government entity does not require it to be a volunteer organization. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions?
This is Paulina. Could you just give me a round number for how much we have to distribute through the revenue sharing fund? What's the total?
I'm assuming you're asking me, Paulina. This is Chad.
Yes.
We have approximately incoming revenue into that account for state revenue sharing, which comes from state tax revenues, is approximately $25,000. We have more than that in that account, but that's what our incoming revenue would be, is 25.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions about that?
Well, just to follow up on that, so the 25,000 incoming, that is the budget for this year, or are we using additional funds that have accumulated?
We can get to that in more detail when we get to that page on the budget for this year, but I would recommend that we don't grant any more than what we have coming in, and then that way we can reserve the difference that we have actually saved in that account for something that may come up or for future years. Or you may, as a budget committee, recommend that because we do have a little bit of money in that account, savings if you will, you can recommend that we give more than what we receive throughout the year. Those are all of your options, and we will clarify that when we get there. And Gail and Christy are taking some notes as well as I am about what the requests are. So once we get through the hearing section, we'll close the hearing, and then we'll get down to business and talk about what we're going to give out. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks.
All right. So I'm trying to keep up in COVID lands with onlineness here. So that was Helping Hands. Next, we've got St. Vincent de Paul.
Yes, my name is George Morena, and I'm the president of St. Vincent de Paul, the food pantry. We're in Gerhardt. We're in the North Coast Plaza. We've been there, about 14 years. And we serve we get food to about 270 families a month. And we are all volunteers. We have nobody getting paid. And we rely on the regional food bank also very much. So, any questions?
This is Chad. I heard you loud and clear. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else?
I have a question. It's not 100% clear to me what you plan to use the money for. Is it just?
Well, just to purchase more food. We feel that our numbers are going to start going up with all the unemployment and down here, and we're just feeling that we're going to have to end up buying more food. We're going to have more families than what we're used to. So, and we're all, everything we do is off donations and a few grants, but a lot of our donations come from Our Lady of Victory, the Catholic Church. Of course, that's been closed down too, so our donations are down a little bit. So that's why we were asking, and any amount would work.
Okay,
I have one follow-up question. So, and I know you're local, and I've been to your operation. It's great. I've got friends that volunteer there. But your legal entity is part of the Portland St. Vincent de Paul?
Well, the tax ID number is Portland, the St. Vincent de Paul Portland Council, and then there's 54 conferences across the state, and so we're all part of that. But we all, we don't, finances wise, everybody is separate.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to see how you were structured. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I have a question. This is Rita. You said that you were projecting to see an increase because of the COVID-19 virus. Have you seen an increase yet? It's been 2 months, I think.
We saw March was up like 30%. We were up to just under 300 families that we served. Now April was down probably 30%. And we don't know if it's because we know that the food stamps, they got an extra $200 put on their food stamps. And we're figuring some of the stimulus money, that is, so we're kind of in limbo right now. We don't know exactly. We're just kind of looking at how many people, how many restaurants are closed and hotels are closed. And that's our clientele.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Does anyone have another question? All right, so then we have a grant request from the Harbor. Is there anybody here from the Harbor?
Didn't we hear from them?
They spoke at the beginning.
Yeah, she was number one.
Oh, thank you. All right. Yeah, keep an eye on me, folks. Let's see. We've got the next request is from the the Seaside Municipal Airport, the Seaside Municipal Airport Advisory Committee. Anybody from them? Okay. If there are any basic questions you see on their donation form, what they've been requesting, and moving on, we have the Seaside Scholarship Incorporated. Anybody from them? Okay, that's Celine McEwen and her group. All right, if hearing no questions, moving forward, we've got the North Coast Food Web.
Hi,
Anybody from?
Hi, I'm Jessica Tontisuk, and I'm the director at the North Coast Food Web. And it's great to be here, and we're excited to put in another proposal with the city of Deer Heart. Y'all have funded a couple of projects of ours for the last couple of years, and so we're really happy to be back. And the program that we're asking for support of this go around is directly related to COVID-19. And so for those of you that are a little bit newer to the community, the North Coast Food Web is not a food bank. Like Viviana mentioned, we do partner with them on certain projects, but our focus at the Food Web is more on nutrition education for kids and adults via hands-on cooking and building nutrition and budgeting skills around eating. And then we also do a lot to support local farmers. So we provide different resources for the local farmers, fishermen, ranchers, foragers. So the program that we're asking for money for today is to move our in-person farm stand to online sales. So as you know, with all of the social distancing requirements, it's been tough to do any sort of in-person gathering. And so usually we run a weekly farm stand at our facility that's based in Astoria. And it has growers come from all across the county to sell their produce directly to the community. And we had to close that down because we didn't feel like with our limited staff and volunteers that we could do that in a safe way. And so in the last couple of weeks, we've been piloting an online system where folks can go online, order directly from the farmers still, all the money goes straight to the producers, and then our staff and volunteers packages it together, and then they set a pickup time with us, and then they can come to the Food Web and we just bring it out to their car. So this is great because right now, a lot of farmers that we work with, we probably work with about 30 different farms across, over the course of the year. Their primary sales channels are a lot of the tourism. So they're selling to local restaurants or they're selling at the farmers markets. And it's really unclear at this point how soon that those things are going to reopen. So we want to make sure that we can keep both ways, the community being able to access local healthy food, and we also want to provide that economic viability for the local farmers. So We have gotten some support for this program already, but it's not something that we obviously had in our budget previously. So we've gotten a little bit of funding from the Columbia Pacific Coordinated Care Organization, which is who coordinates all of the Oregon health plan services. And then we've also gotten a little bit of funding from the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. So yeah, so our request is for $3,000, and it'll go directly toward that program staff costs to get farmers onboarded to this online platform, as well as all of the logistics around like packaging and taking orders and handling customers and things like that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Just double check. Looks like, if I'm correct, we're looking at Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District.
Okay, let me see.
Anybody here from Sunset Empire? Okay.
Darren, unmute yourself. Wait, Darren's here. He's muted. There
I'm here.
There he is.
Am I here? Sorry,
Hey,
sorry.
Darren.
There was a delay in my clicker apparently. So, well, good evening, everybody. This is kind of a really strange format than what we're really used to. But I'm here on behalf of Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. We have and have had for many, many years a scholarship program where we are able to help some of the struggling families in our community, struggling individuals have access to our youth recreation and aquatic programs. Some of our primary users of this program are younger families who are trying to find a safe place for their kids to be. So their kids are going to be part of our after school program during the school year, or they're going to take part in our summer camp program throughout the summer. And that really allows parents some really flexible options for being able to make sure that their kids are safe in a nice, safe environment, getting some enrichment during those after school hours until mom or dad get off work. So right now, unfortunately, in our COVID scene, that program is on hiatus until we get obviously the okay to start back up. So actually, what we're doing right now is offering childcare to our first responders and our healthcare workers, and that's a program that we started partnering with just as about a month into the COVID piece. So we were partnering with the Seaside School District in being able to offer that to some of our folks. So got a little feedback there. So that's the program itself, though. We also offer it to people of all ages really take part in this program. One case I can think of is I have a lady who is retired. Really depends on this. She's on a very fixed income and depends on this to be able to swim laps. And I've probably never seen a more devoted person in my life to that pool. So really, the scholarship program benefits a lot of people in our community. We've had the good fortune in years past to be able to give out in the upwards of $19,000 to $20,000 worth of scholarships throughout the year. Again, COVID came in like a wrecking ball, and really. One of the primary fundraisers that we have annually was our Sweet Affair, which was rebranded this year to be the Sip and Savor, and unfortunately, that event is not going to go. So we're really looking for other ways of raising that money to support that scholarship program, because in reality, as as we kind of try to transition back to somewhat normal life, whatever normal looks like for us now. There really are going to be a lot more struggling families out there as we have parents returning to work. So um, it's it's a difficult time for everybody, I think. But are there any questions about our program?
Yes, this is Brent Warren. I had a
Yeah,
question
Brent.
about, do you segregate the scholarship funds out for Gerhardt, non-Gerhardt, or does it all go into one pot?
No, it all goes into one pot. If I remember right, and I was looking at some of the statistics that we pulled for a year-end report, about 10% to 12% of folks are Gerhardt residents that take part in the scholarship program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and normally, we have you kind of think in terms of resident, non-resident. Scholarships are actually available to residents and non-residents alike, so we don't segregate those out that way. So
Okay, sounds good.
great,
Hey,
thanks, Brent.
hey, Darren, this is Chris.
Yes, Chris.
How much of a grant do you get from Seaside?
Seaside, I have to kind of go back into my collective memory. It's typically around 5,000 ish, between 4 and 5,000, depends on what funding they have available.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, this is Chad. Any other questions for Darren? Great. Thank you, Darren.
You're welcome.
And let's just double check this here. That was Seaside. No, well, you just happen to be, are we on the South County Community Food Bank?
Yep, that would be me again.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah. So, Darren, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was wanting to chime in on a little bit of the confusion, but I think Viviana did a great job, and then George jumped in there and also did a wonderful job at sort of kind of explaining a little bit about how all of our pantries and food banks are connected. We just ended up with the name food bank because we were incorporated as a 501c3 long before the regional food bank ever came into existence in our county. So now we are South County Community Food Bank, and then we added the little a food pantry kind of at the end to sort of help clarify that a little bit. But as George mentioned, yeah, it's we are kind of in a very strange time. March 17th, that Tuesday, March 17th was sort of I guess a day that will live in our memories for quite a while. That day we served more people in a single day than we have ever served in a single day in the entirety of our food bank. We had over 50 families come in to receive food. It was, and which basically constitutes over 300 individuals that we served that day. It was a really busy day, and that was also the first day we sort of retooled our service delivery model too. Normally, we have a lobby full of folks that come in, and we have volunteers that take them around and shop them. But because of COVID, we had to retool our delivery model, and now we basically pre-box food for folks, which ends up being a lot more volunteer intensive. We went from right around 300 volunteer hours a month. It was kind of our average, and we had over 570 hours in March, 455 hours in April, which was really a lot of volunteer hours that were put into putting together food boxes. So everything we could do to maintain distance and protect our clients and protect our volunteers as well. So all of the money that we are asking for this year goes directly to purchasing food. We have a fantastic relationship with CCA. We're able to access food at 18 cents a pound. That's all of our meats, those really valuable proteins, vegetables, foods of just about all kinds. They have a really fantastic variety of foods. So that's what we're looking at this year. Like George hinted to, a little bit of a dip in April. Actually, going back and looking at our numbers, we were still a little bit on the high side with numbers. But I think when it comes to food banking, if folks have other opportunities, they're obviously going to get the foods, the preferential foods first, and if they have the money to do that, they certainly will. But unfortunately, as I stopped by the food bank this morning, dropping off some Safeway donations, I was looking at our numbers, and our numbers are back up for May. So they're starting to trend upward. And talking to one of my volunteers at the front desk this afternoon, the one thing she kept impressing upon me was the number of new people coming to the food bank that she's never interacted with before, and I think that's really really telling as well. So thought I would put that in there too. So do I have any questions about what South County Food Bank is doing?
This is Paulina. I just have one question. Do you
Sure.
know if the clientele, like going to the St. Vincent's Food Pantry and the South County and Seaside, are the clientele the same people, or are you servicing two different groups of people?
That's a great question, Paulina. And typically, they're some of the same clientele, which is one of the reasons that we chose to operate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because those are opposite the days that St. Vincent de Paul and the Cannon Beach food pantries are open, and that allowed folks an opportunity to be able to access a food pantry at least one day, one of every day of the week, so Monday through Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Gooch?
Well, great. I really appreciate you guys letting me be here tonight, even if I can't see all of you.
All right, so is there anybody in the audience that's not on the budget committee as part of the public hearing? Does anybody in the audience have any questions for anybody who's spoken? Okay, I'm hearing none. Let's just double check here. So we are on number 4, Bob. I think we should officially move to number 5 if you recommend, and ask for a vote of the budget committee to do so.
Okay, I'll vote to start the budget committee or end the
So you
public
would
hearing?
you would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, so we have a motion to close the public hearing.
I move
So
to close the
moved.
public hearing. And I'll second it then. This is
Okay,
Brent.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Budget.
Okay, thank you, Bob. This is Chad again. So those of you that are not on the budget committee, or even some of you that are, that would like to mute yourselves, go ahead and do so, just to get through this meeting. I have been through about 50 GoToMeeting and these sorts of things. I'm starting to get comfortable with it. I know this is an uncomfortable situation to have a meeting this way, but we'll just kind of, make our motions through it and get through it moving forward. There's going to be an opportunity for the budget committee members to talk and ask questions throughout this. I'm going to go through page by page basically and ask if there's any questions, and I should be able to answer all of those questions. And if I cannot, or we get to a spot to where we need to move forward or to get more information, that's what tomorrow's meeting is for. But generally, we try to keep this pretty easy going and kind of I guess, a family affair, if you will. It's a Mayberry thing, right? So moving forward on the agenda, we have the receive the budget meeting, the budget message. Bob, would you agree that we should move forward with that?
Yes.
Can I interrupt and
We
make a
need,
motion? We take a break for 10 minutes or 5 minutes to take care of stuff.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, Bob, did you hear that?
yeah, I guess if, we'll take a break for 5 minutes. All in favor?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you have anybody that's going to be really against that. So it is 6:16. So don't hang up. Stay online. Do what you need to do, and then we'll see you back at 6:21.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Chad, are you there?
I am.
Why don't I see you on the screen?
Because I'm in my garage.
You don't have a camera.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sitting here next to the furnace and my tools. Where are you?
I see. I'm sitting in front of my computer. I finally figured out how to get connected.
Yeah, well, you sound great.
Why don't I see you then?
I'm very healthy, thank you.
Yeah,
Hi,
well, we can't see your camera. We see your face, but you're frozen. So you look great, but you don't look like you're moving at all.
I am.
I just now have a loading webcam circle going.
Judy, I can see you still. So yeah, this is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, a
And
little
then
bit.
the other thing I've got to stop myself, and I've been doing it today, is I'm shouting into my computer because I feel like if I talk normal, it's not enough. I got to shout more into my computer. So I'm going to try to do better.
Normal? Hey, Chad, are you talking normal now?
I don't know. I don't know what normal is, Al. Yeah, I don't know what normal is.
Well, in today's environment, nobody knows what normal is.
Hi, Chad.
Yeah.
It's Chad. Hi, it's Viviana Matthews from Clatsop Community Action. Do you need me for the second part of the meeting?
I don't think so, Vivian. Generally, there's not questions that come up for people moving forward. You're welcome to stay on if you'd like, but it's hard to say when you've got a committee of 10 of exactly how this is going to go.
Okay.
But if we do have, what we can do is hopefully the budget committee will keep this, pretty simple and make some recommendations and maybe give us the authority to be, to move forward with the donations that we've gotten. But I guess for the people that are listening, does anybody else have any questions for Vivian?
I don't mind staying. I don't mind staying if you think that it's going to benefit.
I really don't think so. I think we should be fine. They had the opportunity to ask you questions, and if it comes up again, we'll just tell them that, sorry, if you're not there. Yeah, I think you're fine.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, you take care.
Thank you.
Hey, Chad, this is Elizabeth from Helping Hands. I had the same question as Viviana. One thing I did want to clarify is our request is for $10,000, but of course we're happy to receive any support. So if $10,000 is not, I recognize of a $25,000 budget, that's a pretty significant chunk. So I just want to put that out there for the budget committee that it's not an all or nothing sort of deal for us.
Okay, those of us, yeah, great. I'll pass that forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chad, and thank you everyone for your time. And then where do we look for the results of the discussion?
You can give us a call next week or the end of this week and talk to Gail or Christy or myself. We'll help you through it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Hey, Chad, you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That spreadsheet that was sent out shows the budget amount of 50,000, and we were just, is it only 25?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah. What
rather than
that is,
having,
there's some funds over the years that haven't been given out, and in the past we've used these funds to do other city things also. So that's why when we get to that page, I'll describe more. But there's some money sitting aside for fire station repair and maintenance. We used to pay for some of our insurance through there, and then over the years, the city council seems to have put more of the monies towards the grants than they have towards city business. So it's a balancing act. But $25,000 is the revenue that we have coming in.
it's okay, but we do have money left. We do have money in reserves that have not been used.
Essentially, yes.
So, all right, then if I look at your one of the pieces of the information that came out here, it indicates that we have an estimated total of 76,000 available if we wanted to.
Yeah, I'll get to that page here real quick.
That was on the agenda. It was on the agenda for this, for the state revenue sharing fund.
Yeah.
It has unappropriated amounts available 51 and estimated to be received 25 for a total of 76. And then on the spreadsheet, it says budgeted 50,000. I just don't understand what the numbers mean. I understand what the requests are, but I don't understand. If we wanted to fund all of the requests, do we have the money to do it?
I'd have to run a spreadsheet on that. We could be close, but I know that we have, or we will have at the end of this year, $76,000 in that bank account, in that account.
And that includes the 25 that the current year?
Yes, we have a $51,000 beginning balance.
Okay.
And a $25,000 incoming amount of revenue, and that brings us to 76. So we could spend more than the $25,000 this year.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I have a little problem with one of the requests, not only with the with the dollar amount, but they're not registered with the Secretary of State as an Oregon corporation.
Okay.
Well, this is Brent, and I sent out the spreadsheet just a little while ago, and I have to send out an updated one because I rechecked the Department of Justice website while we were on the call, and apparently the database was being updated. So 3 of the records that we're showing is not being registered are registered. So that was my mistake, or the Department of Justice's webmaster's mistake. And the $50,000 budgeted amount was a number that I just drew out of the air because I didn't know what the number was. I needed something in there to make the formulas work to do the math.
Okay.
So we can change that budgeted amount to anything that we want, whether that's 25,000 or 50,000. But the current total requests as presented in the 12 applications is $41,225.
Okay. And Chad, have we heard anything from Trails End?
No, I don't believe so. And Christy has been kind of keeping an eye on that file for me. So it might take her a moment to get online here, but we can ask her that question.
Well, no, that's not quite. I was just wondering. I see that they're doing all the improvements, and I assume that we have funded their full request from last year to do the maintenance and remodeling of the Trails End building.
This is Dan Jesse. I don't see them on last year's.
Yeah, we did last year. We funded, they had 3 different projects and we funded them all.
5,600 is what I'm looking at.
How much?
55,600 is what we funded them last year.
I'm sorry. Now I see it.
I'm going to search my email just to make sure.
Chad,
Yes.
this is Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Hi. A representative from Trails End called 2 days ago asking if they had submitted a donation request form, and I told them that they had not, and so that's where that stood.
Okay, and I'm just going to double check my email. Thank you, Miss Christie. I don't see a request from Trails End, but I knew I've talked to them a few times, and they were trying to do so. But it doesn't look like it ever got to us.
Well, I know last year, I know that we took a pretty hard line, if I remember last year, that the people that had got the organization that got monies in prior years, if they didn't request anything, we scratched them off the list.
That's true, Al. That's true. We've gone back and forth with that a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
In the years previous, we used to just say, okay, well, they requested it before, let's give it to them again. And then last year, and maybe even the year before that, we started to get a little bit like, well, we want to hear from them. And I think that was Dan Jesse that was important to, and say, oh, well, let's hear about the programs. So yeah, you're correct.
Well, I guess my question is do we have any idea? Do we have any idea what their desires are this year?
You're asking for my opinion, and I know that in the past we have often thought that the Trails End is a unique, positive thing for Gearhart. They've really been working a long time on the exterior of their building to make sure it's sealed up and tight, because it's kind of a historical building from their perspective.
And schoolhouse.
And being and being in art, there's not a lot of revenue that comes in for that, and a lot of people that come into Gearhart, see that building. But that's as much as I can really advocate for them, I guess, or give you information. I do know they always need money.
Yeah, well, I guess where I'm coming from on this time, even though we have in fact heard from them that they I guess their request kind of fell through the cracks. I think that we need to add them to the list for an amount.
Well, that's perfectly appropriate for a budget committee member to ask for that information. And so when we get to that portion of the meeting, we can have that conversation for sure.
Okay. Would you make a note of that in case I forget? I'm getting old.
Yes, and I've got 2 very good helpers in Gail and Christy that will also help us not to forget these things, because I think we're all a lot older this year. This has been a very long year.
Longer for you than me.
And it's only a few months old.
Let's not go there. Let's keep this to the budget. All right. Let's have fun. All right. This is going to be fun. I'm going to get to the online thing here. I'm actually working through the same documents that people can see online. And so, Bob, are you still there?
Yeah, hang on, I got to unmute. Okay.
I got you, Bob. I can hear you really well. The next thing on the agenda, Bob, if you'd like to move forward, is, I believe, the budget message. Would you like me to go forward, Bob? Bob Shortman, can you hear me?
Bob's missing.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Folks, welcome to the Gearhart Budget Committee. I really appreciate your volunteerism to do this. This process we try to keep very simple and not very or not difficult. I'll go through the budget message here in just a moment, but also that we are not using an accrual method of accounting. We use a cash method of accounting. So going through this budget, there's going to be some things that are funded and might be funded a little bit heavy just in case. And then all of those numbers that are funded may be a little heavy and just in case, that those monies will go back into the general fund for the next year and be our cash carry forward. And that is confusing for some people to understand at times, but it really is a simple way to do things, and it's the easiest way for Gearhart to do things based on our level of staffing. We have very few employees, and we do a lot of work with those employees, but to keep things simple, we use a cash form of accounting rather than accrual. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, and Al Carter, you've been an accountant, and there's some other money types here that can understand that too. So if you have any concerns, please let me know. But it seems to be working for Gearhart. And just on the other side of this budget conversation, or excuse me, before I get into the message, Gearhart is in a very good place, I feel. We're very lucky to have a community that is efficient. We've got reserves. Our budget does not depend on a lot of tourism. And with all those things being said, I think we're very healthy, and we'll get into that as we go through these budget pages. So with that, as budget officer of the city of Gearhart, it's my privilege to present the proposed 2021 budget to the committee for review. This indicates anticipated resources for the requirements of the city of Gearhart for 2021, and we are in accordance with budget law. The budget includes appropriations necessary to operate the city's departments for the year, as well as 2 years of historical data and last year's budgeted numbers. We also have appropriations for reserve funds that are included within this budget. The fund resources for this fiscal year are $2,004,500 from various sources. While revenue is increasing slightly, our tax rate remains the same, which for those of you that are listening is $1.50 per thousand, which is quite nice. The conservative increase is appropriate due to the anticipated amount of building and improvement in home assessed value. So homes are always assessing value, and so we'll always kind of get a little bit more year after year to cover our expenses. Another source of revenue is the transient room tax, which is anticipated to be $250,000, which is $125,000 less than last year's budget. Room taxes from hotels are anticipated to be less than last year's because of COVID-19. But building permit budget numbers are estimated to remain similar. Gearhart just keeps pumping. It just keeps going forward. We may see a drop in future building permit fees available because of what's going on, and our buildable lands are in decline. Gearhart is a small town. A lot of the homes, sites that we have are being built upon now. The city's tax rate is a permanent and remains unchanged at $1.50 per thousand and 6 cents per thousand for the Gearhart Road District. Included in the budget are the appropriations necessary to allow implementation of the city's salary schedule and increases. COLA increases or cost of living adjustments of 1.6 as per the Social Security Administration is applied to salaries this year starting in January. A 5% step anniversary increases for some city employees will take effect during the anniversary date of their employment. Our reserve funds will again receive additional resources this year, and the state building sharing fund expenditures will be finalized after citizen input, which we just went through. Does anybody have any questions about the budget message?
I do have a question. It really is more of, I'm looking for a little context for the budget, like how does this fit into the short and long-term plans for the city?
That's a very good question that Paulina Cockrum also talked about earlier today in a conversation that her and I had. Those are things that the city, we don't have a really strong goals process. It's kind of, keep moving forward and carry on. But we'll get to some of those items that I've built into the budget on the pages as we go through them.
I have one other question. You already talked a little bit about the more obvious things that are potentially going to be affected by the COVID-19 situation we're all in. There may be some less obvious ones. So as we go through, if it occurs to you, other things where there might be gaps because we don't know what's going to happen in the immediate future, that'd be great for us to think about that.
Yeah, and if I could chime in too, Chad, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
One of the things we did in the military is 5% of all of our discussions, thinking, talking, etc., was focused on 5 to 20 years out. We always had 5% of our agenda talking long term. So it's more of being proactive as opposed to reactive. So just some thoughts for your consideration there as we move forward.
Thank you. And those are both very good questions. As you go forward with the budget committee in years, coming, which I hope you all do, you'll see that Gearhart is very much looking at trying to put as much money in our reserves as we possibly can. And over the years, we have really packed away some savings for the rainy day. So that, and we've also tried our best to increase the cash carry forward every year. So you'll see, I think, hopefully when we're done with this, you'll see that we've been very conservative and fiscally responsible is to our ability. With that, I'm on page 1 of the general fund resources. We have 34 pages to go through. So 1 and 2 are the general fund resources. Is there any questions about these 2 pages? I'm anticipating a cash carry forward of 320. Yes, Al, sorry.
My question really has to do with the effect of COVID-19 on the transient tax. And I see that you have dropped that, but I don't know that you dropped it enough.
Well, thank you for pointing out that I am an internal optimist. But I'm also careful.
I understand that, but our illustrious governor, who is an idiot, excuse me, I don't know that she's going to be allowing any of that to happen here in any time soon. And
well,
so
Al,
I have a real question.
If the revenue doesn't come in, the city is nimble enough to be able to respond.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Well, in keeping with that, Chad, budgets are always just a plan, and you always have to have contingencies. And I know that you do so in your head. So if there are times when you can say, this is an example of a place we would cut back if we have to, as we go through the budget, that would be great.
Great, Judy. Thank you. Okay, we'll do.
Also,
any other?
Paulina,
go ahead.
I just want to say in the draft that's been submitted by the county, the STRs and hotels, I believe it's in July that they are supposed to potentially, if things go well in the next 6 weeks, that they might potentially be opening. So I'm not sure that I'm as pessimistic as Al might be, and I think that the number's possibly a good number.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about the revenues? Okay, the taxes necessary is what I anticipate that we will receive. And we've been pretty accurate in our assessments. So it looks like we're looking at a $2,004,500 amount of revenue. And then if we start with page 3 and 4, we can start kind of packing away how we, or talking about how we're going to spend that money. So I'm on page 3.
Hey, Chad, this is Chris. Sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead, Chris.
How many different line items are potentially impacted by COVID?
Chris, so I heard you. Your question was, and I barely heard you. You sound pretty far away from your microphone.
Sorry.
You said how many line items are impacted by COVID? I would say all of them.
Okay, so this kind of gets back to what a couple of us have talked about before. But
Chris, could you speak up, please?
yeah, I'm sorry. I've got tremors too, so my voice kind of wavers. So I
Well,
appreciate
you sound pretty far away from your microphone, Chris. So you might want to get closer to it.
Okay, how's this?
It sounds good.
Much better.
Okay. All right, sorry for that. So here's, I know there's a lot of work in putting this together. But is it possible to do another one of these, but have a highlighted, have the cells highlighted where you have current scenario expected, then a best case, and then a worst case. So instead of having one column for the budget, maybe this is your best case. You have another column that's worst case. I don't know if that means a lot of work, Chad, but it kind of gets back to, okay, what does right look like right now versus 2 months from now? I mean, it's quite possible you could see uh, things go great or things go completely pear-shaped. So, I mean, you know better than me, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Does anybody else have any reaction to that?
Yeah, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've worked with you and discussed the budget process with you over the past many years, and my take on it is that when you work on these budgets, you don't necessarily say this is the best or this is the worst. This is where we kind of expect it might be, and therefore you are taking into consideration the economic and environmental factors that are currently going on when you are doing when you're putting the budget together. I will also add that one of the biggest expenses that we have in the budget is personal services. That's our employees and all of their benefits and such. And right now, I'm going to say that I'm absolutely pleased now that you're really running your shop with the appropriate number of people, and you have not loaded your personnel. I mean, people are having to work their little bunnies off, which I think is good. And so I think that when you come down to the what you're doing with the budget, if you take a look and see what of the total budget, what the total personnel costs are, there's not much you can do with that. And also that the incremental increases are totally in line with what we're expecting. So I guess from my standpoint, there is that, in all due respect, I think that if you gave two budget lines, one is the best, one is the worst, we would be in August before we would be able to do anything with the budget. That's my
Yeah,
2 cents.
I appreciate the comments, Al, and I appreciate the question, Chris. And you both kind of nailed it. I'm a business guy. I came from a business background. I used to run fancy hotels. I try not to be too optimistic. I try to be very realistic. And so far we've been very lucky to always hit or come very, very close to our estimations. So I think just by your questions and us being able to ferret that out, I think we're going to be pretty good here. But you know, if it all goes bad, I'm a businessman. We will make adjustments. I just show you all of those in this budget process, Chris. But I'll keep that in mind for futures for sure.
I just want to.
Thanks for your patience.
I just want to say in this context, most years one can predict with some sense of certainty even. But I think we're in a situation where nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And so it's good that the city is in such good shape. And I think over the course of this year, everybody's going to have to be really vigilant and paying attention and make adjustments as needed.
Yeah, Chris, I think this is Brent again. I think the tool that you're looking for is the monthly financial statements that shows the budget variance from what we originally expected. If something is way out of whack, either high or low, then we can do a course correction and fix it then. But to start off with two different high-low budgets probably wouldn't be very effective.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate everybody's patience. I think, Brent, you've nailed it for me, in that it's going to be looked at on a monthly basis. I, I'm just military training obviously doesn't always apply and transfer easily to the civilian world. So, thanks for your patience, guys.
But it's a great perspective.
Oh,
Chris.
yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's valuable.
Okay, so any questions about page 3 or 4? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move to page 5, which is our building department. We're lucky to have a building department we do, and this we don't pay this building department is neither of those two that work in that department are employees of the city of Gearhart. They are a private company, so we pay a portion, 75% of the building permit fees to that company, and they take care of 2 employees to do so, a building official and the building official's assistant.
Okay, Chad?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apparently was muted by the controller, and I had a question on page 3 under personal services of the administrative. I'm sorry to go backwards, but I've got this question on the PERS. You know, last year we adopted $19,000 for PERS. This year we're proposing $35,000. You know, the first preceding year is 44,000 and the second preceding year is 23,000. Am I missing something, or does PERS go up and down like a roller coaster?
No, you nailed it. Thank you, Carrie Smith. So we've been having some issues with PERS. My budgeting last year was too light on PERS based on the information at the moment that I had. And so I made some mistakes. This year, I really looked at PERS and I loaded it a little heavy. The up and down roller coaster is correct. And then my treasurer and I are working out a way that we can correctly allocate the PERS amount to the correct departments. The PERS also made a change in their system with the state, which didn't cost us anything different, but the reporting and the information we were getting from them was very difficult at first, but we figured it out. So really, we've made a few little errors over the last 2 years on PERS, but because our budget is built the way it is, it was able to handle it. And moving forward, we're going to get much more accurate. PERS unfunded liability is what we owe to our employees versus what we have saved up. And the city of Gearhart probably has the smallest unfunded liability in the county. I'm not sure about Seaside. Seaside's pretty well run that way also. But our unfunded liability is very, very small because we have very few Tier 1 employees. The rest of us employees that have started working for the city do not get that Tier 1 retirement as they did in the past. I believe Oregon's done a good job in fixing the PERS issue, but now the chickens are coming home to roost to most cities, but we're in very good shape. So Carrie, I acknowledge what you're saying, and I think we're going to be able to really kind of get this down to a more nimble, accurate number moving forward, and this year being the same. I've loaded a little bit extra in there with PERS. Don't think we're going to spend, but that'll just turn into cash carry forward for the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
Back to the building inspector.
Page 5. Oh, yeah, page 5. Any other building inspector questions?
Yes, Dan Jesse here. I know prior to the COVID-19 situation, I think it was the March City Council meeting, we had some discussion about potentially increasing fees. Obviously, that's been put on the side burner, I guess, and to deal with more important things. But do we anticipate potentially those fees are going to go up, and how does that affect the budget if it does?
Thank you, Dan Jesse. Yeah, I did anticipate some of that, but I didn't put it. I guess I didn't put it in the budget. I'm running on our current fee schedule, and with that, we will be raising our fees potentially if the city council allows it. We haven't changed our fee schedule in what? I think it's 15 years. And so the worst case scenario is that we'll have a little bit higher revenue and we'll have a little bit higher cost, but those will happen naturally. So I didn't build the new fee schedules into this revenue projection. And for me, I'm kind of calling that part of the COVID response, because maybe we will, maybe we won't. If we do, great. If we don't, we're prepared.
Okay, fair enough. So if in fact revenues do exceed this, we'll adopt and amend the budget at that time during the city council, as you see fit at the city council level. Is that correct?
Chad, this is Al.
That is correct.
Chad, this is Al. What kind of fees are you talking about increasing?
We're looking at all the fees for the percentage of the value of the home, but it's not a huge increase, Al, and it's just small little increases to take care of things like 5%, 15%, 20% on like small project type permits. But in the whole grand scheme of things, I think it was only like a 5% increase on building an entire home. So it's not large.
Okay. All right. But let's go back. You're right. If those fees, most of those fees go to the building inspector. Is that right?
In our contract with the building official, we pay 75% of all of building fees to his company, and then he divvies it out to his staff and things. And we are required by law to use all building permit fees in the building permit department. So even if we reduced our costs for the building official, we would still have to spend money in the building department to is the difference. So if we paid them less, we'd have to pay more to either the state or to the cost of doing business. The city pays for that ugly building that's outside of City Hall as part of that.
Yeah.
So it's running
Okay.
pretty well.
No. All right, but no, my point is that really, of all the fees that we charge, that one has would potentially have the biggest impact on the increase in fees, and we would see a very small increase on that. How about the plumbing fee? I mean, the plumbing fees is very small. It's only $11,000, but the rest of the fees that we would have would be pretty minor. So I really don't know what, if we decide we wanted to increase a lot of fees, I don't understand why we would want to do that. It's not going to affect, it's going to have almost a very de minimis effect on the city of Gerhardt's budget.
That is correct, Al. The amount of, the fee increase that we're doing is reviewed by the state of Oregon to make sure that we don't go above and beyond. But I would advocate for the fee increase so that we can pay and continue to pay for a quality building inspecting company. If you see, it's only $165,000 for 2 employees and all their expenses. That's tough to do. So the reason to raise the fees is to make sure that we can keep a quality program, and maybe a builder online can attest to that and how we do it.
Okay.
May I, Chad?
Sure, Dan.
So my understanding of this, Al, we are at the lowest end of what we're charging for fees throughout the county, both in the county itself as well as the different municipalities in the county, and are also lower on the statewide scale. So the building inspector was hoping to increase fees to bring us more in line with what's happening around us, which will in fact, allow him to keep providing the excellent service that he has been providing.
He's looking for more income.
He's looking to, yes, more income to cover his expenses, correct. I will tell you, dealing with the different municipalities,
wants more money.
Well, we receive better service as the building community in Gerhardt, I believe, than we do any other municipality in the area, for currently less money. So to me, it seems fair to allow him to bring his fees in line with what's happening around him.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm in total support of it. But the discussion on increasing fees has virtually no impact on a net impact on our budget.
That's correct.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Getting to the point, Al Carter. Thank you, Dan Jesse. Any other questions, page 5? Moving forward, page 6 and 7, police department. Any questions about this?
I have a question.
Carrie Smith.
Why did we adopt this budget year, 13,000 for workman's comp, and this year we're just going to adopt, or presume to adopt, a $7,000 number?
Okay, let me get to that line here. It's more in line with true and actuals. So
so last year, or this year, excuse me, because we are still in this budget year, we were just grabbing a number, and now we're doing an actual number.
Yeah, I don't, with our budgeting, I don't bring everything to exactly where it's going to be, but sometimes I do make little mistakes. And so I over budgeted us last year in workman's comp, and I'm just bringing it more to a realistic amount this year. And I've done that with all of these lines every year, because when we do our budgeting in Gearhart, we are currently in the budget year. So sometimes my estimations are a little off, and that's one of them.
Okay. I'm
So there
just
was no
clarifying a discrepancy that makes my eyes water.
I hear you, and I appreciate your eyes.
Thank
there
you.
was no anticipated workers' comp claim pending that could have bumped up the premium.
No, the nice thing about this team, and Carrie and Paulina can attest to this, when they went to League of Oregon Cities, we usually every year win an award for our safety. And we have very small claims, and I've got a great team.
That's great to hear.
And I do have a question, this is Paulina. In the different, as we go through these different departments, the workers' comp amounts are different. Does it cost something different to have the insurance for a administrative assistant than, say, a policeman or a fire chief?
That's a good question, Paulina. Yes, each class of worker, its classifications, each different classification does cost us differently. And as you would imagine, we also have to take care of our volunteers in those also, and they have classifications, especially when we have a large volunteer fire department, as we do. We're very lucky. So firefighters and police are a little bit more expensive, as well as the portion of the time that our public works does on street work. Street work is more dangerous than making water. So all classifications are a little different. Administrative, none of us have suffered a debilitating paper cut yet, but it's possible.
Well, ergonomic workstations are really a good idea.
Christy will attest to that. You should see her new standing desk when we allow you to come back into City Hall.
Cool.
Good to hear.
All right. Any other questions? Now, the police department is one that actually always seems to return the most cash carry forward, or a good portion of the cash carry forward back in the next year. They hardly ever spend, as you see, their full amounts, but they're prepared to do so just in case. Okay. Any other police questions? Okay, moving on to page 8 and 9, fire department. Any questions there? I don't have anything to really report other than when we get into the salary side of things, there are a couple of movements that I would like to make as a city administrator. The first is that our fire chief has been on the department for close to, oh man, I should have looked this up and I'm not in my office. So 30 some years, and he's been the chief for I think 17 or so. Gail can help me with that a little bit. He's probably getting closer to retirement, and we'll be retiring soon. So we'll have to have that conversation moving forward. The firefighter amount has gone up by about $10,000, and that is a wage increase for who has been recently promoted to Captain Josh Como. Captain Como is he's a second generation Gearhart firefighter, and he was hired on it full time a few years ago. And his shoulders are, we're putting a lot on him now. So I'm going to work with the council in the next upcoming meetings to discuss with them his new job description. But he's doing a fantastic job, and he's going to take on the role moving forward from our retired fire chief to help out with that. I'm not sure he's going to be the next fire chief at this moment. That's for the council to make that decision. But so there's some movements going on in Gearhart. Just want to kind of let you all know. Any questions?
I have a question. Knowing that the Memorial Day weekend party is canceled, I don't really know if that is a significant fundraising chunk of the firefighter budget or what.
Okay, and was that Judy?
Yes, that was Judy.
Okay, thank you, Judy. That's a good question. The money that the fire department raises in the firefighters' ball does not is not in this budget at all. They have a separate nonprofit association. That association of the firefighters, they raise that money and they hold the ball, and that's about $20,000 to them. The profit from that ball over the last 3 years has been about 20,000, and they spend that money on firefighting equipment aside from our budget. They also spend that money on the public education aspect, teaching kids stop, drop, and roll, and all of those things. So it has no effect. I mean, the lack of the firefighters' ball does not have any effect on our on this budget.
Other than it saves expenses on the city side because they cover it.
Good point. And we will just be careful not to spend more money than we get, but we're also trying to be nimble. I'm just so you know, I've been on the fire department for quite a few years. We're trying to do an online store this year instead of having a ball, and selling all of our Gearhart Fire merch that people seem to really adore. So hopefully they'll be able to make some money off that, and we'll be able to continue our programs. But if not, they can be nimble.
Great idea.
Any other questions about fire? Okay, moving forward, pages 10 is non-departmental, things that we don't, really have a spot for. So street lights, beach access, and that sort of thing. This is also where you see a lot of transfers into our reserve account. So first part, under materials and services and other requirements, does anybody have any questions? Okay, the second part, transfers. I am, to keep the budget rolling, and with the COVID-19 issue, I'm advocating that we transfer a little less into our savings accounts, but not by much. So you see those transfer differences. Any questions there? Okay. Page 11 is our court. We have a municipal court in Gearhart. I know that those of you that have been involved for a long time know that, but for some of the new people, we issue tickets, get through that process, and hold people accountable best we can. Any questions?
No, but that was news to me. Thanks for cluing me in.
Good. And obviously, we haven't picked you up for speeding yet, but it's coming.
No, thank goodness.
All right. The next page, I'm on page 12, planning. This is all our zone code issues and our future planning. There's a few changes in here. I've increased hers a little bit because one of our employees, the law changed. She was always part-time. Her name is, well, she's been part-time for, I think, her entire career with us since the 1970s. Her name is Cheryl Lund. She's a longtime city employee. The law changed, so we actually have to pay some back PERS. It gave us a little bit more unfunded liability, but it's manageable, so I increased the rates. Under materials and services, I've just, again, I over budgeted last year, Carrie. So I'm just trying to be more accurate this year and take a guess, but if it's above or beyond, we'll be fine. And coastal implementation grant, that $25,000 is the amount that we should get for our fire station planning moving forward. And then the other increase is the $15,000 in the parks grant. That's a grant that we've got to start going through the parks master planning. Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, moving forward to parks. Any questions here? No major changes. Okay. We're going to continue to work on our parks. We're going to continue to go through the parks master planning, and we're going to continue cutting Scotch broom. So that's what this is all about. All right, so general funds, I'm on page 14. That is the summary. And 15 shows that our resources and our expenditures are equal. We will, in Gearhart, spend less money than what we take in. And that will become cash carry forward again for next year. Any questions about the general fund? Have I worn you all out?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
Start it. I'm trying my best to. All right. Al Carter has helped me with this page in the past and has taught me a lot of things and made sure that I was on point. I believe that this page 16 is accurate for bonded debt. This is the debt we pay for our water treatment facility that we put in 2011. We have 2 bonds. These are the payments, and this is how it kind of all shakes out for interest and principal. Any questions? Al, any concerns?
Chad, Dan Jesse here.
Hey, Dan.
With interest rates hitting relatively all-time lows, do we have any of our bonds eligible for refi anytime soon that we might be able to take advantage of that?
Thank you for the question, Dan. Yes. As soon as I get some bandwidth, Peter Watts and I have had conversations. We're going to talk to a bond counsel, and we're going to look at the 2011 bond that is available for us to refi. It's the smaller of the bonds, I believe. No. Yeah. So we'll look at refining that as we did in 2015. We refied when the bond rates went down, and we saved the city about $300,000. I think it was a little bit more than that. So yes, we're going to look at that right now. And then it's also a great time to go for a fire station if we can get there in November. This would be, less expensive money for sure.
The only thing that could trip you up on that is sometimes there's a prepayment penalty that doesn't make it cost effective unless the interest rate reduction is pretty substantial.
That's why thank you. Great comment. That's why I'm looking at the 2011 bond. It's matured past that prepayment penalty, or it's gone past that. Sorry about my verbiage. Sometimes I get words sideways, but we should be able to do that one. And I'm even going to look at the 15 and determine if that prepayment penalty is worth paying for new bond rates.
Yeah, and sometimes it is depending on the amount of the reduction, and sometimes the prepayment is tiered and reduces over time. So
excellent.
Yeah, you just need to pencil it out and see if it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I use bond counsel for, man. That's some high math.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions about the bonds? We're gonna pay off one of those bonds here in about 4 years. So our taxes should reduce by about 90 cents per thousand. And not wanting to get into the discussion in this group, but if we went for a fire department, it should be about 90 cents per thousand. So that's kind of how things are shaking out here, depending on what we do in a COVID world. All right. Any other questions about that?
Just one question. So the one that pays off in 4 years, is that the 2011?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
No. It's the 2015. Excuse me. We refinanced the 2015. The original date on that is actually 2007.
Oh. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Water Improvement Construction
Chad,
Fund
are you
is
there?
that? Oh, yes,
Chad, are you there?
I am, Al. Can you hear me?
Chad,
Uh-oh.
are you there?
Can anybody else
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Al.
A question.
Yeah, we
I have a question.
can hear you.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Al.
here's the question. My understanding, there was a concern on the refinancing or the refunding of bonds.
Yes.
If my understanding is state law says you cannot refund unless you have a positive effect. Is that right?
I don't know. Yes, that is right. Going through my memory banks here, yeah, they wouldn't let us get into this unless it had a positive effect. Thank you.
All right. So the thing is, the question of whether it would be beneficial to do it or not is a moot point because you can't do it if it's not.
Al Carter, getting to the point. Thanks for, I'm using too many words. I should just have Al do this, and he can make it real quick for us. All right. So that being said, go to page 17. That's our leftover money from the initial bond that we've been using to either to fix or repair or upgrade the water department or pay for the water study moving forward. So we're probably going to spend the rest of this money this year pretty easily and then close out this fund. Any questions?
Question. Chad's question.
Go ahead.
What's the current status of the water study?
Well, okay. All evidence is pointing towards we have a good, strong aquifer that can support this city, no problem. The bureaucracy side of things is all evidence is pointing towards we may never get full water rights. That's where we're at.
Hello, Governor Brown.
So we're doing the best we can. We've done some good negotiating with the city of Warrenton because we do have to buy water from them in the summertime because we're not allowed to take the amount of water that we need out of the ground based on our location to Neocoxie Creek and about a million other things. But in my opinion, looking at the studies and the numbers, we could, and in my opinion, which I'm not the professional, but it would not be a detriment to the aquifer. And anybody who wants to have a long conversation about the science on that, I'd be happy to sit down for a cup of coffee in the future. But that's my short version. All right. With no more questions, moving to the water fund. This is a completely different fund within the city of Deerheart. This water monies that come in have to be spent on water things. So that's why it's a different fund. And that's how we're responsible to the taxpayers of Deerheart. And that's how we keep our water prices really low. So I'm on page 18. Any questions on 18?
Chad, Dan Jesse here. I know we've been spending over the last number of years a fair amount of money in meter upgrades, which should, in theory, be cutting our costs to have meters read and that sort of thing. But aren't we actually also recouping more money in water fees that we weren't getting before? We're not necessarily seeing that reflected in the budget.
Yes and yes. We really weren't. So we're replacing all the water meters in Deerheart to get people caught up. And the reason for doing so is the water meters that were in the ground were very old and not accurate and giving most people in Deerheart a nice deal on their water. So our apologies. To be more efficient, we are installing these new meters that will not need to be read by a person. They will be read by a computer as a truck drives by. They'll also be more accurate. We've made huge headway this last year with the help of Gail and Christy and the public works guys and a company that has come in because we just couldn't keep up. We were trying to install these new meters. We just could never get there to the speed that was satisfactory. So now we pay a company to come in and they can install a bunch of meters a day. So we only get them for about a month a year because they're very busy. So that is beginning to increase, Dan, and we should see some changes. I'm being conservative on my estimates, so I don't want to increase the revenues at the moment. I want to see how this is going to shake out.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yes. Why? You wanted it? No.
Any other questions on page 18? Okay, how about page 19 and 20? No major differences year over year, just things should pretty well shake out. My insurance amount is it's pretty accurate. It might be a little tight. We'll see how that goes, but the rest of the expenses should be a little bit over funded, so we should be fine. I'm proud of my public works group. They're a good bunch of guys. And actually, a girl, last year we had her on the part-time, painting all the fire hydrants. And sorry, Al, they're the wrong color. I know. There's a lot of people that think that we are in favor of the Oregon Ducks and not the Beavers. But it's actually a fire code. It's actually fire code. Okay, any other questions? Okay, that's the water fund. I'm on page 21, the resources for state revenue sharing. We had a little discussion about that earlier. Any questions? Okay, now this discussion might get a little difficult, but page 22 is where we start talking about our ideas of who we want to fund based on the requests. Christy Thicker has got a that has been provided to us. Thank you very much. A spreadsheet open to track our discussion. And how would you like to move forward with this, Bob? Just kind of see what people think.
Hold on, I got to unmute. What's
You're
that?
there. So, Bob,
Yeah.
you want to carry on this discussion with the group and give me a moment to go get something to drink, non-alcoholic.
So, just go get something to drink.
All right. Hash it out, folks. I'll be listening in, but I can't talk.
Okay. Okay. So, does anybody have any input on this page 22?
Yes, I do. The Sal Carter.
Okay.
I think we need to seriously consider funding an amount for the Pacific Trails. They're a definite asset to the city of Gerhart, are well recognized. The building is historic. It's part of the old Gerhart School. So I think that we need to consider that.
You're talking about the Trails End Art Center, right, Al?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I thought they were finishing that.
Well, we could, since they didn't bother to respond, or they did, but they were a little late. I'd be happy to give them $1,000 to continue fixing up the outside of their building, but there's a couple other items in here that I'd rather see money go toward to help the more unfortunate people from the coronavirus pandemic.
But Carrie, I thought we gave them money last year to re-side it, and I thought it looked like the siding was being finished. Maybe they're done.
Oh, that could very well be. And I'm just going along with Al. It is a historic old schoolhouse, and they did request to get on the list, even though they were late requesting the application. I'm just going along with Al. $1,000 I think would be appropriate for them because there's other areas where I would take that money from.
Oh, makes sense.
I agree with Terry.
I don't. This is Rita. And if they didn't apply on time and get in with everybody else who got in on time and provided all of the details and their budgets and their story, I'm sorry, everybody else towed the line. And I love our little art center, and it's very, very important to our community. But right now, I'm just going with the law or just sticking with the facts. I'm sorry to be such a curmudgeon. It's getting late, and I'm grumpy.
That's all right, Rita. I understand.
Would you like a glass of wine?
I'm really not grumpy.
I heard the conversation. Thank you very much. And they have also been in between presidents. Their entire board has switched over, and it's like every good volunteer organization. They would really appreciate some money. I've had some conversations about them. I'm sorry that they didn't get that in, but I think Carrie, it's a good amount. One way we can look is if for the requests, is there any adjustments that you'd like to make to any of the requests that have come in so that we can get closer to $25,000?
Yeah, I don't think we should. This is Rita. I don't think we should give Helping Hands $10,000 because that's almost half of our budget.
Rita.
Okay, Miss Christie, I can't see the spreadsheet. Where are we at, Miss Christie, with all the requests?
We're at 42,225. If we bring down Trails End to 1,000. Paulina.
Well, this is Al Carter. I got a question. The city has been in discussion with the people from Trails End, and they didn't get their request in. Do we have through those discussions any indication as to the amount that they're requesting and what it's for?
No.
Well,
no, but if you wanted to put $1,000 aside for them, I think we would be able to do that through this process, and they would be appreciative for it, and they would use it as a nonprofit. I'm trying not to advocate for them being the administrator here. So I do know that they're in the middle of our town, and it's a pretty good group of people that are trying the best they can.
Well,
my recommendation would be that we just give them the $1,000 or set aside $1,000, but just earmark it for building maintenance of any sort that they deem necessary.
That would work.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
fine
Chris.
with that.
I concur with that. But I also wanted to pile on with Rita there. I have no qualms saying $0 to Helping Hand. I just really have a hard time seeing them ask for that much money when they have such high administrative overhead costs. The CEO of that firm most likely makes more than the fire chief or the police chief. And then they've got a director and a deputy director. And it's like, really? I agree with Rita, 0 for Helping Hands.
Well, I didn't say 0.
Well,
I
do.
said not 10,000.
I say 0.
Oh, okay.
But that's just me.
Dan Jesse here. I probably am too connected to Trails End, or excuse me, not Trails End, sorry, to Helping Hands. My mind's going six different ways. Even though I have 0 connection to them in reality, I'm a former employer of the said director. He worked in the construction trade before when he was on drugs and had lost his way. And so I've known, I've been involved for a long, long time. I've also lost an employee in the last year that was we had moved him out of the Helping Hands facility and found him a place to live, and he OD'd on drugs a few weeks later. So this is a group that hits very close to home to me, and I think, and when you look at what they've done, not only locally but statewide, it looks like Helping Hands is taking over the old jail facility in Portland to create something that's never been done before in the U.S. as far as from a volume standpoint, and the number of people that they believe they can help and touch. The fact that the model is being used now nationwide, I mean, not throughout not every state, but it's this model that was created in Clatsop County is being reproduced over and over again throughout the country. It's an important program, and I think that that they also have, when you look at the potential of negative impact potentially in not having a program like this in Clatsop County and what that can do to our communities, I think it's an important thing to fund. Now, whether they deserve as big of a chunk as they're asking for, potentially not with the money we have to give, but the idea of giving zero, I think, would be very inappropriate.
Well, and you're probably right, and I was probably ventilating some frustration there, but I mean, they've existed for a long time, and I'm looking in the past, they've never asked for anything from Gearhart before, so there's
that's actually incorrect. We funded them, or they asked for money several years ago. They just didn't make it the last couple of years, I believe.
Okay, well, and just the one other piece of information was what I think Brent sent out is they're now registered with the Secretary of State as an Oregon corporation.
Didn't he, in fact, change his?
Yes, I did. So, yeah, that I should have taken out that note. I did change the registered with Department of Justice, yes, in the last spreadsheet. So the one that I sent out a little while ago says it was updated 5/12/20 at 6:30 p.m. So does everybody have that version?
They are current at this point.
Yeah, they are current at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm comfortable if we could just limit our donations to any one service to $5,000.
Okay, so this is Rita, and I agree with Paulina. I think that's very wise. But I also want to say, as apropos to Helping Hands, and that the personnel costs are so high. I used to be a board member on Helping Hands back when Alan Evans, the director, was running homeless shelters in 3 counties, making minimum wage and losing money. So I'm just saying, I don't think his personnel costs are too high at all. I think he deserves every penny. But I do agree with Paulina. I think we should limit everything to 5,000. I think that's wise.
As a maximum.
Yes, as a maximum.
Yes. This is Dan. I can support that easily.
So can I.
Okay, so should Helping Hands be 5,000 or something less than the max?
Let us look at all the other ones first, and then we'll go back to Helping Hands because they were asking for the major pot.
Okay, well, Clatsop Community Action Food Banks, 5,000, St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantries, 5,000, and South County Community Food Bank is 5,000.
Okay, this is Rita again, and I have to recuse myself from this portion of all the food banks because I'm a current board member of the Seaside Food Bank, so I just think I should be out of all of the food discussion. I'm done.
This is Al again. I know that the food banks have provided a very critical service to our communities. But what the problem, the issue I'm having is I'm having trouble reconciling that we have at least 3 different organizations that are dealing with the food bank, all requesting individual grants. And I would rather see personally that we look at all 3 of those in the totality and see what would be an appropriate amount to be funding them. You take all the pieces, and if you have 10 different organizations asking for a whole bunch of money, and there's a lot of overlap in those. So which of those organizations would we choose to really support? Would it be the Clatsop County, which in effect supports all of them, or would it be dealing with the one that's closest to home? that's just a question I'm pondering. So anybody want to throw in some excuse me, comments? Go ahead.
Dan Jesse here. I may be wrong with this, and please correct me if I have a wrong impression, but it seems to me that the dollars probably can be leveraged the farthest dealing at the Clatsop Community Action Food Bank level, meaning they're first in line from the state level down, their distribution center spreading things throughout the county. It seems to me that our money potentially is better spent there than at the end user. Any thoughts?
But my only thought, and I wish I did know more about how they operated, but I did hear one of the people say that they actually have to buy the money from the Clatsop Community Action Food Bank. 18 cents a pound is what I heard him say for meat, something like that. So where I understand that the Clatsop Community Action Food Bank is probably first in line for getting state funding and such, it almost seems to me that we should fund the more local establishments. And I do like the idea that they've worked it out so that they're open 5 days a week. So I think they both probably serve our population.
So, Paulina, my argument to that would be, if they're charging, if the county level they're charging the food pantries 18 cents a pound, if at the county level they don't have the funding necessary to buy that food, the food won't be available to the food pantries at 18 cents a pound. So by giving the money at the county level, that allows them, in my impression, the maximum allowed, or that the bulk of the food can be purchased at the best price at that level. If there's nothing on the shelves to purchase at the county level, 18 cents a pound isn't going to do you anything if there's nothing for them to buy.
Folks, this is Chad. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so you are all very correct, and you are really kind of drilling down into what the issue has been over the years with these organizations. We're kind of in between what the county is doing at 18 cents a pound. The county food bank at 18 cents a pound is selling to the regional food bank or the local food bank. The county doesn't have a footprint in Gearhart. It's all in the county. So the local food banks are actually doing the work, and the county is selling them food at a very cheap rate. So they're all doing really good stuff. Whether or not their business model with these three organizations is the right one or not, as a business guy, I agree with you. That's a difficult question, but they are feeding a lot of people.
So if we gave $3,000 to each one of those businesses, the CCA, the food bank, geez, Louise, the South County, the regional food bank and everything like that, that would be a reasonable compromise, wouldn't it? It may not be the $5,000 they're looking for, but we can use money that we have there left over for, like, the harbor for abused women and children. I'm looking for, let's spread it out as much as we can. Did anyone hear that?
Yep. Yeah, we heard it.
Okay.
We heard it, but the thing is, if you have $1,000 and you send $1 to $1 to 1,000 different organizations, that does an absolutely diddly squat.
I'm not sending $1. I'm sending 3,000 to these.
I understand what you're saying. I'm taking the concept that you indicated, and I would rather see that I'm not saying to eliminate the contribution, but where would be the best use of that money? Would it be at the South County Food Bank to use the money to buy the product from the parent organization, or would it be to fund the parent organization and the local organization doesn't have any money to buy it?
Good question, Al. I don't think we're going to be able to answer that one fully tonight.
Well, the one argument I would make is I have a hard time putting such a large amount of our money into the food banks and not spreading more of it to the other types of organizations in the county that also need help. I mean, to me, the CASA and the Harbor and the Seaside Hall and organizations like that that are really helping individuals that are in potentially really tough shape. Not to say that people aren't also hungry and in tough shape. So my gut tells me we have a much larger problem potential when things go awry with these other organizations and not being able to help the populace. I think ultimately we'll figure out in America how to make sure people are fed, but I'm not sure we'll make sure that we take care of people with addiction issues or children that don't have somebody looking out for their best interest. Or let's see, was there another group there? Anyways, I'm concerned about that.
Well,
okay.
I'm going, there's $3,000 if you give them all 3,000 that you can spend on CASA, and they're only asking for what, $1,500. So it's a win situation for everybody because everyone is getting some cut of the pie. There's only so much of the pie we can give out. I mean, we can, double our expenditures in these gifts or these grants, whatever they're called. But there's got to be, for me, there's got to be a little bit of control and a little bit of stepping back and going, well, this is a good idea, but this is also a good idea. And how do you just say, well, this is a better idea when there are people hurting in both areas?
Well,
okay. So this is Chad. Let's take just a moment here. Christy, can you get online for me?
Hello.
Hi, Christy. How are you?
Hungry.
Silly question. Hungry. Okay, somebody throw Christy a sandwich here. So Christy has been monitoring this process and listening to your conversation, and she just texted me a picture of the spreadsheet based on your conversations. Christy, what is TEAA? I'm sorry.
Trails End.
Okay, for Trails End. Thank you. So she just was listening to you folks. She put $1,000 in Trails End. City, Seaside Hall, $1,500 as requested. The Watershed Council, $1,000. The Regional Food Bank, $3,000. CASA, $3,000. Helping Hands, $5,000. St. Vincent de Paul, $3,000. The Harbor, $1,000. And North Coast Food Web, $3,000. And South County Community Food Bank, $3,000. And that total comes to $24,500, which is the amount of revenue that we have coming in. Would you folks like to, so open for discussion, how does that sound?
Sounds,
Chad, this
is Al, and it sounds pretty good, except I do think that we need to support our local arts. I mean, it's not a question of totally saying, well, we have to deal with the because of the seriousness of the health situation that we have to devote all of our money there. I think there are other areas that need it, and I would like to propose that you include the Trails in for $1,000.
I'm sorry. It was Al. It is included for $1,000.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Hey,
yeah.
Chad, this is
Could
Chris.
we run through the numbers again? Because I'm coming up with 27,225.
Yeah, Christy's got a spreadsheet, and she is a master at these things. So let's see here. Seaside Park and Recreation Department. That's correct. Okay, so sorry. Christy's texting me, and we have $1,000 for the Trails End Arts Association.
Yep.
We have $1,500 for the Seaside Hall, Little Yellow House, which is AA. We have $1,000 for the Mechanicsum Watershed Council, which has done work for the city of Deer Heart before. The CCNA Regional Food Bank is $3,000. CASA is $3,000. Helping Hands is $5,000.
Oh, 5,000.
St. Vincent de Paul is $3,000. The Harbor is currently at $1,000. And then North Coast Food Web, $3,000. And South County Community Food Bank is $3,000 for a total of $24,500.
The only thing I would suggest is taking 2,000 out of the Helping Hands and moving it into the one below it, which was CASA.
So bring CASA up to 5,000.
No, I'm sorry.
The Harbor. I mean,
The Harbor. Thank you. The Harbor. Abused women and children.
Yes.
So bringing the Harbor up to 3,000.
And taking the Helping Hands down to 3,000.
We could do that, but we also have some money in our piggy bank account here for this year, being COVID-19. How about we just increase the Harbor by that increase that you want, and then we move forward from there, and then leave everybody up where they're at.
So I want to understand.
I'm good for that.
Does that mean we are not funding Sunset Empire Parks and Rec?
Correct.
Seaside Scholarship and the Seaside Municipal Airport?
No one had mentioned them at this point, so I had left them blank.
Who is that?
Sorry, it's Christy. I was just saying I left them blank because as I was making updates during your discussion, no one had mentioned those three organizations at all yet.
Right, gotcha.
This is Sal again. As far as the Sunset Park and Recreation District, the scholarship program, when they made their proposal there, how much of that scholarship program impacted Gerhardt?
They couldn't answer.
They couldn't answer that, and their proposal was close to 90 cents per thousand, I think, for the city of Gerhardt.
What I'm suggesting is we are not part of the, Gerhardt is not part of the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. We
Correct.
opted out many, many years ago. And if they can't answer the question that if we contributed to their scholarship program, how much of that money would flow back into the residents of Gerhardt, then I think that they need to be eliminated from the consideration.
I thought they said about 10% of the scholarship went to Gerhardt residents.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what he said.
Then my question is that 5,000 10% of the total?
No, they actually said they did about $20,000 worth of scholarships a year.
To Gerhardt?
No, total.
Then I propose that they're requesting 5,000 from us for the scholarship program. If we want to include it in there, I'd take 10% of that.
They're requesting 3,000.
$500.
They're requesting 3,000.
Okay, 3,000. All right, then I'd give them $300.
You know, that's an interesting turn of events. I actually disagree with that because they're local, in as much as they're seaside. And I mean, 90% of us probably shop at Safeway.
No.
But maybe 90% of us don't. I don't know, but maybe this is just me voicing sour grapes, but you know, we're splitting fine hairs here over something that's local, and I still can't get out of my head that the CEO for Helping Hands makes net or gross six figures, and okay, so he's done a great job historically, but I think we're cutting fine hairs here on the small mom and pop type of organizations, and then we're throwing 5,000 to the big one. I disagree.
Well, this
I
is
just
Dan
have to
Jesse
say
here.
something about the salary for the CEO. That's not his salary. It includes all the benefits, which is something like 35-40%.
I get it.
Dan Jesse here. I bet if you looked at the books of Sunset Park and Rec, the Park and Rec director total package is higher than Helping Hands.
Okay.
I bet a pretty good steak dinner on that.
All right. I'm waving my white flag.
You can get the meat.
It's folks, this is Chad here. You guys are doing great work. I know this is like making sausage, but this is a great conversation. The other thing that I'd like to add in there is there's other ways we can spend this money also that is not being considered. We've got in the budget $3,000 for the CERT team materials and services that I would advocate that we leave in there. $1,000 for insurance, it's fine. So if we add in everything that you've done plus what I have added in, what else do I have in here? A couple of other things and some equipment just in case, I think we'll be fine. So it sounds like once we get over this last little bit, we should move forward with the budget process. We're going to spend more than we bring in this year, and then we can make that up next year.
Where did we end up with the municipal airport and Seaside scholarships for Seaside High School seniors?
The airport committee is another one of those organizations that has a very small group of volunteers, and they're trying their best. We have said 0 for them yet. And the Seaside scholarships, which goes to high school kids at their graduation, we have said 0 for. You might want to think about putting at least $500 in each one of those to move forward.
I agree.
I agree, Chad.
So
Are we going to take it out of helping hands?
No, we
Or are
don't
we
need to
just
take
gonna
any.
add it?
We don't need to take anything out unless you want to. I think we can fund all of the ideas that you guys are talking about. We'll dip into that piggy bank a little bit this year, but we're still going to be solid for the next year's cash carry forward. So I think you've done good work.
So are we
Okay,
roughly 30,000 in expenditures then?
Somewhere near there. Christy can verify, but it's somewhere near 30,000.
Okay, I have one question. It's last year the Seaside Airport Committee came to us and asked for $500 for their storage of bicycles, and this year they're doing the same thing. Are we going to fund the whole storage unit for bicycles at the airport? Is that what we're working toward?
That's a good question, Carrie. So this is Chad. So they completed that project last year, and they did not put a request in for this year.
The airport,
So the airport,
didn't?
Yeah.
So the airport didn't put in a request. I don't think, did they?
yeah, they did. Well,
$500.
that was
I'm
on the
sorry.
website.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then they did. And what are they requesting?
$500.
I believe they have funded that. I think they're halfway there with their funding for the bicycles.
Okay.
From if I'm going by memory of what I read.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just talked to Randall yesterday, and I forgot to ask him this question. But the Seaside Airport, is it good for Gearhart? That's for you folks to decide.
Okay.
Our citizens or our homeowners use it. Probably more so than Seaside does.
Yeah, it's got a lot of economic development. I've done a lot of research on impact of airports.
So with all those changes we made, we're at about $33,000, and it looks good to me in regards to what I think you folks would like to do as a group. And this is hard. As a committee of 10 people to make a decision, not easy. So we're about 33,000, and I could support that if you do.
Dan
Okay,
Jesse here. I
Chad,
support it.
this is Al, listen.
Okay.
Al, this is Chad. This is Al. What is the number for Helping Hands that you're looking at right now?
Stand by, check and advise.
I think we said
5,000.
5,000.
I thought we lowered it to 3.
Hold on.
3.
Oh.
Thank you, Christy. Christy's right. We lowered it to 3.
Okay, I can go with that.
All right. Bob, you want to do a all in favor, all opposed? Take him a minute to get off. We're so close, folks. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Couldn't we make sort of a rule that would limit to $5,000 for every grant, so that somebody doesn't come in like that and say, "Well, we want 10,000 where everybody else is half of that." So that
not a bad idea. We'll take that note, Bob, and then we'll talk to the council. They are the policymakers in this.
it might be easier for people that are have to listen to that to say, "Well, we only can go up to 5,000." So it might be easier for them. But anyway,
not a bad idea.
We have a motion to accept the 30,000. 33,000. We have a motion.
I make a motion. Yes.
This is Al, and I move to reapprove.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Anyone opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
It's amazing how much time we spend on $30,000.
Right.
Well, at least you weren't digging on my salary, Al.
Hey, Chad, this is
Yes,
Chris.
sir.
I just want to thank you for making an adjustment to this year's setup to ask for the expenses and income? Because I know we talked last year about improving the overall paperwork that people have to submit. So thanks for doing that. Uh, one other thing I would ask maybe is that the the people submitting for grants specify how that money that Gearhart provides them as a grant will be used in Gearhart.
Good question. I think that would solve a lot of that conversation. And thank you for that compliment at the beginning. But I have to, my team, Christy and Gail, those are the people that you should be thanking on that. They're amazing. So we'll make that note and carry on. All
Hey,
right. So
Chad.
we are. Yes, sir.
Chad, can I just make a little sidebar for the counselors?
Sure.
Last year, Cedar did not approach us when we were doing our deliberations about our donations for nonprofits, and they came back at basically when we had our budget acceptance meeting and asked to be included in for $3,000 in order to pay for their director and other costs. So I
Okay,
just want
Carrie.
you guys to be
Yeah,
aware.
that's good. Okay, so Cedar, let me just my email. I've got to do that every once in a while. Let's see here. Help me. Who is the guy that runs Cedar?
I can't help you with that.
Kevin Leahy. Kevin
Thank
Leahy.
you, Kevin Leahy. That's exactly right. Okay, so I don't know that he got any paperwork in. Christy, do you have anything from Cedar?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, but I can tell you what they have been doing, if you'd like me to.
I am just putting that out for the counselors so when it comes up at our next meeting that they're not overly surprised by the fact that they've asked for something.
They will be overly surprised, Carrie. You're nailing this on the head. And they have been an organization that has been working extremely hard over this COVID thing to help small business owners. I guess if I was to advocate for them, I would say that they have spent hundreds of hours trying to get people to get their SBA loans, to get their PPP loans, and they have been an advocate for the businesses of Clatsop County throughout this thing, and they put a lot of energy into it. I think that we could ratify our agreement and put in another $3,000 for them and still be fine this year. And that would be appropriate because of, from what I've seen them do, they've done a lot of work. So thank you for bringing that up. So I guess I'm saying, what am I doing? Am I city administrator or Chad Sweet here? I would advocate for another $3,000 for Cedar to continue their funding, and bring it up to 36,000. Christy?
Yes.
I move that
I
we
think
modify the acceptance of our donation budget to include Cedar at 36,000 whatever number.
second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second.
Dan Jesse here in the discussion phase. The fact that they knew we were doing this and didn't, I'm not saying we shouldn't give them the money, but they're a big enough organization. They should have been able to put a proposal in front of us.
I agree. I agreed last year when we said we weren't going to give it to them, and then the mayor brought it up when we were accepting or taking our budget. But I know this is the way it was last year, and so I am just putting it out there now because I think that's the way they have modus operandi.
It's
This
one
is
thing
Al,
when
and I
when
think
you
they need,
go ahead,
well,
Al.
this is Al, and I think they need to change their modus operandi. They think, I get the feeling they think that their doesn't stink.
Right. I can't agree with you more, but I'm just putting it out there because that's what happened last year, and I believe it'll happen again this year.
Well,
So
they need to understand that we don't bow to their demands.
I agree.
Okay,
So
so this is Chad. This is Chad. I agree with you all, but this is weird times for sure, and they made a mistake 2 years in a row. But I have been intimately involved with them. They once a week put together a conference call, and their position is to take care of those businesses, which I think our businesses need that help. So moving forward, my team and I will have a discussion with them to hold them better accountable for next year, but I still advocate for them doing that for our businesses here locally.
You're going for the 3 strikes you're out rule. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm a pretty easygoing guy though, Dan. So
Dan, I agree with that.
There,
Do it this year, but next year they either comply with our request or they're out.
I agree.
I can accept that.
So
Well,
do we have a motion? We have a motion on the floor then?
We do?
I second the motion to include them for 3,000.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I think the ayes.
okay,
for
perfect.
what it's worth,
So we need to ask. There were nays there.
Oh, were there?
Well,
yes, there were.
Well, I can't count them.
Chris, for what it's worth, the more discipline and rigor we put into this process in asking for the information, the more discipline and rigor we should expect from the submittals. So if we're not tightly disciplined and rigorous in how we go about doing it, then we shouldn't be tightly disciplined and rigorous in our decisions. So I fully support the change, even though I didn't vote.
Okay,
So we
and
need
I think
a count.
if we're going to move forward with getting better for sure, and discipline and rigor, you know, Paulina is working on me every month, so we're all going to get better on this. So
we need a count.
So let's do a count. Chad Sweet, I don't vote, so say your name and then give me a yes or no.
Bob, yes.
Who was that?
Bob, yes.
Bob,
Harry,
yes.
yes.
Al, yes.
Dan, Jesse, yes.
Paulina, yes.
Rita, no.
Are we still voting on the grant?
Yep.
Yes.
Roll call.
Judy, yes.
Okay, we've got a quorum, so we're good. Okay, now we are on. Where are we? Hold on.
24.
Thank you, sir. We are in Special Fund Road District. This is a special, a separate fund. The taxes come from the people of Gearhart, the citizens of Gearhart, and the property owners at 6 point something cents per thousand. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, Dan, Jesse here. So I actually have never asked you this question, Chad, but where are we at, in your opinion, with streets in our community? I'm assuming, like everywhere else in the country, we're probably lagging behind in money to repair versus pay to repair the streets. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, so when we went through the transportation systems plan, it it showed that we are not saving enough money. So I think the city council should look at potentially raising those taxes so that we can continue to maintain, but we're not in terrible shape. But we're spending our capital of roads, if you will. If the roads are in the condition that they're in now and what we've got going on is in decent shape, but to keep up, we're going to have to probably raise taxes in the future.
Okay, that was really my question. So, okay.
Okay, but for today, any questions on that road district?
No.
Nope.
Okay, and State Street Fund is similar. It's the apportionment we get for having a highway through our town, and we continue to use that, and we will use that mostly for roadway projects in the future. Plus, it also goes to labor. I'm on page 26. Also goes to part of the labor for the public works folks, and some vehicle.
What?
Bank. Any questions?
I have a question, Chad.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the resources and it said we had $181,000 carry forward from prior years.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to end up with total resources 279. And of course you have to balance the budget. So 279 is what you expect to spend. But we had 181,000 carried over from the prior year. I take it that on line 13, materials and services, which we have budget for 160,000, then we probably won't spend that. Is that true?
That is true. We try in Gearhart to not spend these line items to zero. We're not like the federal government.
Okay, so our long-term goal is to build that fund up so that we can do something meaningful.
Yes, and then to also take care of projects and emergencies.
Okay. Thank you very much. That answers my question.
Yeah, you'll notice some new pavement down the 10th Street Beach approach. You'll notice some patch repairs coming up here pretty quick. So we're going to spend a little of that money before the end of the year, but that's my estimate. Okay, so that's State Street. Water Reserve Fund is the monies that we're putting aside for water treatment plant upgrades, repairs, and water pipe repairs, upgrades, and changes, and emergencies. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Moving forward to police car reserves, to buy new police cars, paying cash, not going to the voters for it. Any questions about that? We should end up with 67, and we'll probably buy one new car next year.
What's the cost of a new car?
Throwing it out there, about 30,000.
Okay.
That's a sport utility vehicle with all the sirens, lights, and special upgrades we do to them to catch you speeding. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire apparatus and equipment reserve funds. Any questions about that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why do we have no interest on line 5?
Because I forgot to put any there. So we'll make that adjustment.
Does that make me feel good?
No, I know. I'm just making sure you're paying attention, Carrie. So we'll go ahead and make an adjustment there. So Christy and Gail, let's go ahead and add $2,000 into that. And
do we actually make 1% interest?
No, it's not that great. We don't invest our money other than in the state funds, but it's very safe. So we'll add 2,000 there, and then we'll put 2,000 in fire apparatus. So got it. Thank you. Good catch, Carrie.
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, hazard mitigation fund. Any questions about that? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
You have the same thing that Carrie brought up on the previous page. There's no interest.
All right. We'll add $200 to that interest on that, Gail and Christy, and then we'll also add that to supplies and services down below.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 9/11 reserve fund is at zero. This is tax money that used to come to the city of Deerheart to pay for our 911 services, but it now goes all to Seaside because they handle our 911 dispatching. So we don't receive taxes. We've got zero income, zero expenses, and Gail is keen on getting rid of this fund moving forward. So we'll do that in the next 2 special session meetings.
So
All right.
because that money goes directly to
dispatch.
Okay, so Rita, I heard you first. What was that?
So because the money doesn't come to us, it goes directly to the city of Seaside, does that mean that we pay the city of Seaside less for dispatch this year?
That is correct.
Okay.
And Paulina?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I think we've got several of our departments that throw about 20,000 each into dispatch. What is the total amount that we're paying Seaside?
I could do that, but it's probably close to 35,000, and that's what we pay for our community to have a 24-hour dispatcher available to our police and fire. And as far as what I've seen from other communities, we're pretty lucky to have that cost.
And it's 35,000?
I can't do the math right now for the total. If you want to take a few minutes, I could figure it out.
No, I don't want to take a few minutes. I just wanted to know if you're giving me inaccurate.
Yeah, it's close to that, Carrie, but I don't have the exact number.
Okay.
Okay, and thank you for that question. Christy and Gail and I will send an email just with that information for you so that it can, so you can have that answer for your head. Okay, so 911 reserve funds. Then we have Public Works Major Equipment Reserve Fund has 99,000. Looking at 119. We're probably due for another pickup truck, but I'm kind of holding them off this year just so that we can see how it goes. So we'll see how the year shakes out, but it's in good shape. Any questions?
Okay, Chad?
Yes, sir.
You've got interest on the next 2 pages, 32 and 33, and there's a 0 there.
Boy, did I miss that. So we'll add a couple $100 or $200 to 32, and then $200 to 33. Got it. Thank you, Carrie. And that brings us to building reserve funds. Page 33. This pays for what we've been working on with the fire department and designs and cost estimates, but it also is there to repair any building in case of an issue that we need to take care of, things that insurance wouldn't take care of if I backed my car into the building. Any questions about that? Okay. Hearing none, page 36. That's a summary page. And then I'm going to go to that summary here. Okay. Sorry for the moment here. Dead air time. That's notice calc. That's nothing that you need to be worried about. Okay, almost there. Okay, and then salaries, I don't have that page in front of me. I do have it in front of me, but I don't know what page number it is. Do you folks have any questions about the salaries and the increases?
I do. This is Rita, and the line for Cheryl doesn't make sense.
Oh, it does not make sense. She is hourly, and that's why the calculation doesn't work. Because she's part-time, we pay her hourly, which is about $22 an hour, somewhere near there.
Okay. All right.
And we'll fix that, Gail and Christy. Make note of that.
So on page 35, you've got this PW entry level position. Is that something that you're advocating at this time?
Yeah. Funny thing, I am in COVID times. The city has been paying a young man like $13 an hour without any benefits. And I should have talked about this earlier. Sorry that I didn't. This young man's been doing a really good job. And the city's looked better than it has in a long, long time. And he's been able to do most of the garbage and parks and things like that. So I would like to make that position a full-time permanent position. And we'll interview for this position and be fair about it. But I'm thinking that a young person that could work for about $15 an hour with benefits would be great to help us keep up and to have it as a position that could replace somebody in public work as they learn things. And I think our budget can handle it. So yeah, that's a new position that I'm working on a job description for. And we'll report that to the council, but I would definitely advocate for that.
I see. So we're going to have a personnel policy in place before we go forward with that, right? Because it's not right to expect someone to come in who's just a novice and not know what is expected of them with a personnel policy.
Yeah, I think that Paulina and I would agree. I won't speak for Paulina, but she's been helpful in updating our personnel policy, which is different than a job description. So the job description will lay out what this person is going to do, and then the personnel policy will help with all of those issues. So I wouldn't hold off right now. The personnel policy is something we're going to get into a work session about here soon. But I don't think it's going. We have a personnel policy in place. It just needs to be updated.
Okay.
And Jesse here.
Well,
I'm scouring the documents. I cannot find the page that everybody else is on.
Because you may not have it online, Dan. It's an individual with personal information, and I will forward that to you. If you have any specific questions, I can get them to you. But it has some personal information on it. But it's all built within the budget, so it all
fair enough.
It all worked through those numbers. Any other questions about salaries?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'll be ready for you. So is that all the pages that I see?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bob, at this time, you might want to entertain a motion to approve or deny the budget from the Budget Committee standpoint. The other thing that can happen through discussion is that we can do tomorrow's meeting if you need more information. So with that, thank you, folks. I'm going to stop talking, and I'll let you take over.
Hey,
This is Al. I move that we approve the budget for submission to the council for approval for next year.
all in favor?
I'm sorry. This is Kerry Smith. Don't we have to ask any visitors if they have a voice against or something like that for any of the programs that we've discussed? I mean,
Thank you, Carrie.
visitors
This is
are,
Chad. Yeah, we don't have any requirements. We had the public hearing for the reserve funds. The public will be able to speak during our next upcoming 2 council meetings. But if you would like, you as a board, you could open it up for a few minutes for a person to speak, just so that we can hear them out. That's up to you. It's not required.
well, Chad, I'm just going by your little form here, and it says, after we discuss the budget document, visitors against a program or programs, for or against. And
Yeah,
then
you're
we
right.
have,
You're right. I'm looking at that now. I'm getting a little goofy here. So number 8, visitors for and against a program or programs. Bob, you want to open that up to visitors for 2 minutes each?
Yes. Do any visitors have any comments for or against any programs?
And thank you, Bob. And visitors, you need to state your name and address, mailing address prior to speaking, and then we'll go from there.
great. That's perfect.
Let's give them a moment to get off hold.
Okay.
And thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you keeping an eye on me here.
Okay.
I heard somebody come off hold, I thought. Do we have a visitor?
This is Angie. I was just going to say thank you, Betty, for approving the Nankanacum Watershed Council grant. And my address is 2440 Oregon Avenue in Seaside.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? No.
Okay, Bob. So I would then you might ask for a motion to approve the budget.
Well,
with the changes that we've made.
Okay.
This is Al. I approve submission of the budget as amended to the council for approval.
Okay. Do we have a second? A
I'll
second.
second.
Brent, I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. No one opposed. So the motion is approved. Budget is approved for next year then. So Chad is at the end of
Bob?
I move that we end the budget committee meeting.
Bob, just a minute.
Okay.
A point of order. Point of order. This is
Okay.
Al.
Go ahead.
Bob, we
Okay.
don't approve the budget. We approve submission to the council for approval of the budget. We have no legal authority to approve the budget.
Al is correct.
Point taken. Okay. Rita, you got anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. So
this is Chris.
Yes. Go ahead.
For what it's worth, thanks everybody for your patience with me. I don't know if this is a good point or not to say this, but since I don't attend the regular budget committee meetings, I'm just kind of an annual guy. So I don't see, like Brent, we talked earlier about, adjustments in the budget as the year progresses based upon expenditures. What would be helpful for me, just put it for your consideration, is next year you add another column, and that column is the delta between what was being forecasted as the budget for the next year versus what the forecasted budget was for the previous year. So it kind of highlights where we see trends going up or down in the budget forecast year to year. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, that makes sense. And I think for your sake, that would be helpful. From the city standpoint, from my standpoint, that's exactly what I do on every line item moving forward. My staff and I spend a lot of time thinking this budget over and looking at the current numbers. But for you folks, it would probably be a good idea to be able to see what's in my head.
Yeah, and just to
Maybe
pile
not.
on, and just to pile onto that, Chad, the other reason for doing that gets back to thinking long term, right? And so year to year, you can look at what your deltas were, both projected and actual, and it might help you forecast in the future based
Yeah,
upon.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that's what I used to do in the hotel business. Is that, but yeah, we don't. It does. That's exactly why I do what I do. It's hard to illustrate that, so I'll illustrating that a little. So again,
But
see what's in
it
my
would
head.
help me since I'm a once a year guy, and there's a whole lot of information here if you want my feedback to digest. And the easier it is to pick out, excuse me, where potential changes could be, the easier would be for me to maybe add more value instead of less value. Um, and then maybe the same could be said for grants, that
Okay.
there's a year by year spreadsheet for grants. Um,
Okay. No, I hear you. So that'll be good moving forward. Is any other comments about any improvements or changes that they'd like to see? Please email them to us, and with my team, who is awesome, we'll go ahead and keep moving forward. I'd like to thank Christy for helping us out. Christy, go get some food. Anything else anybody would like to say before we get off this call?
Thank you, Christy, and thank you, Gail.
Yeah.
Does this mean we have tomorrow night off?
It
This
does.
means you have tomorrow night off. Yes, you do.
All right.
N-
That's good news.
Nice work, team.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.
Everybody be safe.
Stay safe, everybody.
That's right. Be well.
Be well.
We'll try.
Good night.